Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to the latest, episode 92 of the Gaming Circle podcast. Hear me out, Steambox. But okay, before we get there, let me welcome everybody for being here. I see a bunch of folks already in the chat. I see a bunch of conversations already happening. Salute to all the fine folks that are in the chat right now, getting your Saturday morning hype. I am, of course, joined, first and foremost, I am K Asante, TKO Asante on Xbox, PlayStation, Twitter, all those places you want to find me. And I am, of course, joined by my co-host, the man on these Twitter streets, handing out more free shoes than Al Bundy, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Everborn Saga. How you doing this morning, sir?
Yeah, I'm thinking about having my name legally changed to the Black Al Bundy.
To the Black Al Bundy.
Yeah.
Salute to the Black Harry Potter if he's in here.
Yes.
What's going on?
The one who has not slept last night because he spent all night on a shrine trying to figure it out. And when he finally did it, he realized this is something that could have been done in 10 minutes. I was just way overthinking it.
Make you feel stupid a little bit, right? Yes. We've all been there. Absolutely. So I guess there's going to be a lot of the Tears of the Kingdom talk today. I suspect, right?
Well, one thing I'll say before you finish the intro is it's a dangerous game because I played for hours yesterday. I was supposed to be going somewhere, which I completely forgot where I was supposed to go. And I'm just hanging around in the world. Oh, here's a shrine. Oh, here's something to climb up. Oh, I see some guys to fight. And hours later, I've done nothing.
Now, I know this is a, and we're gonna get into proper Tears of the Kingdom talk, but I have to ask, and I think I see Mr. Joanna Dark in here. Salute to you, good sir. I have to ask, where are you playing this?
I'm still playing on the Switch.
Okay.
Because I wanted to play on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I could play it. I've emulated it on PC and on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck performance is not there, but the updates are coming out like every 2 days. So maybe there's an update that makes it.
I will tell you,
work
supposedly the Steam Deck performance is there now. It's just I'm so far gone on the other version that I'm playing. I can't go back.
That's also what's happened to me because I had the first few days it wasn't there, and then I had progressed to the point. Now I'm on Hyrule. I'm down on the ground in Hyrule.
Oh, so you finally left the island? You finally left the tutorial island? I'm still on the tutorial island. I'm like almost 10 hours into the game.
But this is what I mean. Like
Yep.
you don't realize how. So to me, it's scary because the reason I don't play like these MMOs, right, is because the whole idea, like with Destiny, is just to keep you playing, right?
Yep.
You're grinding or whatever. But with this, I feel like it's a similar thing, where even though there's a narrative going on and there is a beginning, middle, and end, the way the game's designed for whether you want to explore or you want to like engineer or build things, you just don't realize that it has the same effect, which is a time suck, which is you're not going to do anything else. Forget about it.
Stealing your hours.
Right, you could be here.
Yes.
Right. Thousands of hours and not even realize that you didn't even do anything in the story. This the same thing happened to me when Breath of the Wild came out. I'm worried that I may have to either not like stay focused or maybe put it down till I have some actual time, which I never have time. So that kind
So you're actually thinking the game is so good and addictive that you may have to put it down, otherwise it's encroaching on other parts of your life. Is that what's happening right now?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow. Okay.
And
Well, you know what?
And I'm
see
cranky
you.
because I was up till 3:00 in the morning.
Playing this exact thing. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You know what? Let's get into the games proper and shout out to all the folks that are here already. I see our list climbing and growing exponentially. Shout out to the man Gerald Mack in here with the first super chat of the day, $5 super chat saying, shout out to the Gaming Circle podcast, K Asante, Everborn Saga. Salute, gentlemen. Let's get it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here as usual. We got to get you back on the show, man. I know that your work Saturday mornings is a little difficult, but if we have the opportunity to, we would love to have you back on. He's once again in here with another super chat, with a $2 super chat saying, ever born on cam, please. See, this is what I'm saying.
I'm
The people want to see your beautiful face, sir. The people want to see your face. But okay.
Beautiful is subjective, but
Hey man, I put that out there. You're the one who's allowed to dash it. I'm not gonna dash it for you. Before we get into the show proper, I will say thank you everybody once again for being here. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so. Let folks know we are in here. We're talking games. We're going to be talking a lot of different stuff in the world of games this week. So I think it's going to be a great show. Let folks know we're in here. Before we, all right. Before we talk full on Tears of the Kingdom, because I've been Tears of the Kingdom all week myself. But as you know, on this show, I like to go towards the unbeaten path and possibly try things that most people haven't tried before. And I think I want to start this week with the games we've been playing. But I want to talk before we get into the Tears of the Kingdom talk, because that will take over the whole block. But I feel like this game here is getting short shrift, and it will get short shrift. And I wouldn't be myself without at least bringing it up. So let's hear this is some games that we have been playing. And what you will see on your screen from me right now, and it may very well be, this may be, folks tell me if you're seeing it the way I'm seeing it. There's some weird issues. I recorded this on the PS5. It looks like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You have to enable, disable, I should say, HDR by itself, or else sometimes it records the HDR and doesn't strip it out. So it looks like it's a little bit HDR grained. Folks, if you see it, let me know if that's the case. That's what I'm seeing right now. But needless to say, the game in question is Humanity. I don't know if you've heard about Humanity, Everborn Saga. This was part of.
I've heard people talking about it, but I haven't been paying attention.
This was part of PlayStation's State of Play not too long ago. It was also announced that they were going to release this thing day and date into their premium subscription service. The only hope I had for this game, the only reason why I was like, okay, I think I may try this game is this is by the makers of Tetris Connected. So, and obviously Tetris, I consider one of the greatest games ever made, but that has nothing to do with the developers who made this. Obviously, they did not make Tetris, but they play in those waters. And this game seems to be very much in that ilk where it's very strange. Like, just for those who on audio who can't hear, who can't see what we're looking at here, it's literally a puzzle game where the game starts. You'll see as the gameplay progresses, the game starts. You'll see people, just humans, walking out of a white room, right? And they're just walking to their deaths. If you don't do anything about it, they'll just keep walking and they'll fall off a cliff, and there'll just be hundreds of humans constantly just falling to their deaths. And your job, you're this little white dog. It's very strange. Your job is to get them to their destination. And while you're figuring out the puzzle, there's like, introspective conversation. Like sometimes they'll put some very interesting quotes in there. Sometimes they'll explain the world, why it is that people are dying. They'll explain why it is that there are people just falling to their deaths. It's the most interesting, weirdest puzzle I have played in a very, very long time. And the more you go into it, the weirder the people puzzle gets. Get them to the light. That's all it is. It's a very simple concept. But some of the logistics and the mishigas around it is super, super interesting. And I kind of feel like if this game released any time beyond now, where the onslaught is hitting us, there'd be a lot more interesting conversation happening around this game. Everborn, I know you said you heard some people talking about it, but you haven't really paid close attention because you have your Jedi Survivor going on, you have Tears of the Kingdom going on, you have the amazing hit that is Redfall going on. I'm sorry, I'm being facetious, forgive me. But I feel like all that has served to kind of give us a bit of a Titanfall 2 situation with this game. What do you think?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because by the way, I'm trying to set up my camera, which
no worries. Yes. Mr. Gerald Mack is telling you to get right.
Yeah,
get on cam.
He shamed me into it, right?
Yes.
No, but I have no idea what this is. It looks like
very
Lemmings.
Weird, bro. It's Lemmings, but 2.0. It's very, very strange and interesting. I find it's a pretty good palate cleanser for whatever else you're doing. So like work Tears of the Kingdom all over the place. Every once in a while when I get frustrated, I'm like, okay, I've had enough. I play this, and I feel like it's almost the coffee you sniff before you try the next scent that you're trying to do. It's a good palate cleanser, and I like it. It's very strange. It's very, very strange.
I will leave you to that.
You'll leave me to that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. People in the chat.
There are no palate cleansers for Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, because Tears of the Kingdom is a different kind of beast, right? If you're playing,
I feel like I could build this in Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, that's the thing. Another thing, and I haven't really gotten too far into it. This gives you ability to build your worlds, right? There's the world that was created by the developers. There's an actual story, and then there's a level creator where you can get intricate with it and have other people play your levels. So it's one of those games, right? I'm not saying it's game of the year. I'm not saying it'll burn the house down or anything like that. I'm just saying because the floodgates have opened and there are so many other games going on right now, I feel like this game may not get the attention it deserves, but it's actually better than all that. Folks in the chat, if you have you played it? Have you not played it? What are your thoughts? Please throw some stuff in the chat and let's talk about it. Hey, it's very well looks like the floodgates have kind of overshadowed this game, which, hey, it is what it is, right? It's up to them to convince you, the audience, to jump in and play it. I just wanted something different to show on the stream. I wanted something, hey, something new going on. Let's give it a try. And I was actually pretty surprised at how good this game is. It's very, very weird and interesting and eclectic. So I'm usually about that kind of stuff. So Everborn, I would ask that if you haven't had a chance to yet, wipe the dust off your PS5. It's on the premium service. I think. Are you a premium subscriber? I don't even know. Do you have a subscription to the service?
Hold on. Wait a minute.
I think it's part of the mid tier and the high tier service.
So no, I'm just a regular PlayStation Plus subscriber.
Okay. So you don't have the mid or the high. Okay, understood.
Yeah, I don't play the PlayStation enough to do that, and I also think that their PlayStation Plus service is terrible. But
you haven't tried it yet. You don't have any of the services.
Are the games day and date?
This was.
That was day and date. But what about the other ones?
not everyone, but you know what it
Okay,
is,
so-
right?
so then
Toes
no.
must be dipped in the water first.
They
before you
have
jump
they
in,
have
you
a
know?
they have a very easy way to get my money.
True. Okay. All right. Well, let's not belabor the point anymore. I will just say, folks, if you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check. You should definitely check it out. It's very strange. No violence. Just a very eclectic.
Oh, there's no
palate cleanser.
violence. Oh,
Well,
forget
you know, the whole
Forget it.
game is about moving. Look at these people. It's about moving them from obscurity to the place where
No.
they need to go. Otherwise, they fall to their death. You know.
I choose violence.
That's as far violent as they get. You know, people falling to their death. That's as far as it goes. But okay, let's move on and talk properly Tears of the Kingdom. And forgive me, you won't see Tears of the Kingdom footage here because yes, we know Nintendo's about that life, and I'm not about to get Nintendo my me on their crosshairs. So you know, y'all have heard of Tears of the Kingdom out there. Y'all are playing it. We'll talk about it, but you're gonna watch humanity footage. Forgive us. But okay, yes. See how weird that is. Anyway, so
I might if I wanna turn the camera on. I think I have to jump out and close Chrome and come back in.
Oh, okay. If you have to,
If
then go
that's
ahead.
what
Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that. No big deal. We'll
Okay, let me jump
it's up
out
to you.
and then
yeah.
and then do the full thing.
and consumers.
you start off. I'll be back by the time you get to me.
Sure. And people like in the chat, you'll see the image will get a little squirrely. It's fine. It is what it is. See, as you can see, Everborn Saga's in the. Yeah, it is what it is. But okay, so before Everborn will be back in a minute. Let us talk a little bit about Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, so and we didn't really have a proper chat about it last time because you know it was just the beginning of it, and you know there were leaks of it and blah 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 blah. Since the game has released, right? Myself and Everborn, we purchased it. You can, if you have the know-how, you can play it on the PC. You can play it on the Steam Deck. There are ways around that. I'm not gonna get into that right now. If you want me to get into that, there is a show we are now, you know, potentially putting together, producing that will speak more to those kind of things that we do in the PC world. That is the Gamers Playground. Yes, that's right. Myself and Mr. John Wolf are putting together an interesting, new, different kind of show with more tips and tricks and blah 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 more in the PC space. So if you want how the sausage is made more, if you want to know how all those logistics are done, you know, maybe check us out. Come check out the Gamers Playground. Ask questions. How do you emulate a Switch game on PC? Maybe we'll share that with you. But needless to say, I will tell you you can emulate Switch games. So the problem is on the hardware. Yes, of course. I see people. Not everyone's too pleased with all of that, but yes, you know, people who are maybe curious about the PC world can come and dip their toe. I promise you, we will not make fun of anybody who doesn't understand. You know, I feel like it's a show that might educate folks. So that's why that's there. And here comes Mr. Everborn Saga back in the mix. So it is a game that you can play on PC. Well, technically you can't play it on PC, but we can play it on PC if you know what you're doing. It's made to be on Switch, of course, and on Switch it's playing at 30 frames per second. On PC, I've been able to push it to 4K 60. Trust me.
And he won't shut up about it.
Well. I was gonna say, trust me, you kind of don't want to go there because you need a lot of overhead to do so. It's not optimized. You know, Nintendo didn't optimize it for that purpose. So in order for you to play it that way, there's going to be a lot of hardware that you're going to have to bring to bear to it. But I will tell you,
This is when he tells you about his 4090.
No. Once you get it working, it's a brilliant game to play on PC. I really wish they had released it on PC. I don't know how far you've played it on PC, Everborn. I know you're playing it on Steam, on the Abacus right now, but I have to ask, did you spend any time playing this game on PC and like actually playing the game and not just, you know, experimenting, testing it out, making sure it's reaching certain frames or whatever?
Again, I'm not a PC gamer, so I don't play like that. I don't keep a frame counter up because things like that don't matter.
Yeah.
So I will notice a frame dip if it is drastic. But this is why I always like kind of in my head laugh at people who cry about like a 3 or 4 frame difference in performance between consoles or
it doesn't matter to you until somebody tells you,
right? Yeah, right. But to me, if I notice it, then it's terrible.
Yeah,
because
then
I
I
usually
mean
don't
it's
care
gotten
about
really
these
bad.
things.
I get you. I get
Right.
you.
So
but I
me,
guess my question is, did you spend any time on PC just playing it like a game?
no. But this is what I'm saying. Like I did the first 3 shrines on my actual PC.
Okay.
And that was decent before, and that was before the main patch came out, where you still had all the pixelated
Yeah, there
or
was
the
some jankiness
artifacting
to
or,
it.
or all
Okay.
that stuff, right?
Okay.
On the Steam Deck in the beginning, it was unplayable.
Sure,
And then
it
there
was
were
like
some updates
17
that made it
frames or whatever.
playable.
Yep.
But then you get into you saying frames again. Then
Hey
you
man,
get
when you get it to
into-
17 frames per second, it does matter. Don't tell me Everborn Saga will play the game. It's at 17 frames per second and he won't feel it. 17 is a different beast.
No, absolutely. But it was going lower than that in the beginning.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Even worse.
So
yes.
In the later patch, it was smooth until you fight someone.
Yeah,
So you
then
could
it
like
hits.
spin the camera around, and then you'll see like what the you'll see it start to dip, and it would be really badly like dropping down to 9 frames or whatever.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
So
yep.
And
So
that,
is
that's
that the
why
reason
I just
why
said
you went
at
back
that
to
stage.
You went back.
Yes,
to
that's
Switch?
exactly right.
Okay.
But I do also want to be clear, right? Now Yuzu's a lot better than Ryu Jinx. That did help. But the Switch on the OLED LG CX 65 inch
not bad, huh?
is a very decent experience.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, I haven't tried
And
it.
I don't know
I haven't actually played the game on the Switch yet because my kids always take my Switch. Look, for those who might not know, who probably know, the Super Mario movie just came out on Blu-ray, so you can rent it and or buy it, and of course that puts Mario in the zeitgeist of children. So needless to say, no Switches are touched by any adults in my household. They're all owned by. I have 3 Switches, and they're all owned by my children right now because Mario's out there. And every time they hear the Peaches song, they got to go play Mario. So yes, I got to find someplace else to play Tears of the Kingdom.
I'll tell you, I have to like one of the businesses we have is a daycare in our that my wife and I have or whatever, and so every time there is a Switch here. It just somehow makes its way
disappears
into
the
business
daycare.
downstairs.
Of course.
And so I have my OG Switch that I waited online outside of Best Buy for back in 2017.
Okay.
That one I have to guard with barbed wire and electric fence.
I mean,
so that it doesn't.
You probably have to guard it with barbed wire and electric fence already anyway, because if it's an OG Switch, like OG first Switch, it's one of those Switches that can actually dump video games. The newer Switches can't do that.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is the 2 to 7-year-olds that we have down there are not going to care about.
They can smell it.
Anything.
They smell it in the
They're
air.
going to care about breaking
Switch
joysticks,
somewhere.
right?
And they come hunt for
you. we now have 4 Switch lights and my OG Switch, so we have 5 Switches in this house.
Damn. Okay. See, and you call me a technology whore. You got 5 Switches, and I'm the tech whore. Okay, continue, sir.
And 3 of them have made their way downstairs.
Downstairs, of course.
When one of them makes their way downstairs, I'll just go and be like, all right, it's lost to the abyss. I gotta go buy another one, and then that one ends up down there.
Is what do they call that? The what is it? The world of misfit toys, where always one of them finds its way there. That's the Switch basement. Understood.
So
That's cool.
We have one Switch Lite that the 13-year-old plays, and then mine is like. I used to let them play it because everybody knows mine is banned from downstairs.
Oh yeah.
So I used to let them play my OG Switch, the kids or whatever, like not the daycare kids, but actual kids.
Yeah.
And then Tears of the Kingdom came out,
and
I was like, yep. That sucks for you.
Yep. So do you know what I have been regulated to doing right now? So and we're gonna get into Tears of the Kingdom proper, but because I want to play Tears of the Kingdom on my Switch, because I I don't have. You spoke about buying an enclosure for your Switch to make it like adult hands Switch. You know the
I
Joy-Cons
did. It
are
was
better.
great.
Yes, I now have one, and I should have brought it with me. It's in the living room.
Let me go get it. It's in the dock in the living room.
Okay, you go get it. I have one as well. I have a different one that I kind of want to show you. Maybe when you come back, I'll show you mine. But basically, I have one that now I can. It's like a dock for the Switch, but it has Joy-Cons on the left and the right, and it's a bit bigger, so big man hands and all that. So I have been taking that and stealing that from my own living room because God forbid the children see that the Switch isn't there, then World War III has to ensue. But I've been doing that, and then every time they complain because all they want to play is Mario. They don't necessarily even. Well, okay, I will stop and say my son. Wants to play Mario 3D World, specifically Mario 3D World, but I'm somehow, some way able to like bypass him by handing him Mario Kart, which he'll deal with for a while.
I like how you're leaving out that your kids play a lot of Sonic.
Oh, don't get me wrong. They play a lot of everything. They play Piku Niku, which if you haven't checked that out, you should definitely do it. It's a very interesting platform game that's on everything. And yes, they also play Sonic. Yes, absolutely. Their favorite is the Sonic that was not made by Sonic Team. The 2D Sonic, the last good 2D Sonic. They play that
Sonic
all the time.
Mania.
Sonic Mania. Exactly.
By the way, amazing on the Switch because
amazing on the Switch. Yes,
Switch run.
Amazing on the Switch.
So
no doubt.
Speaking of the Switch, this is it, right?
Yes, I have the same controllers. I have different controllers now, but I have the same controllers. Yeah.
To give people a size reference, right? Look at this.
Yep. There you go.
Makes it feel like. And you notice that the Steam Deck has been collecting dust while the Switch is nice and.
Well, but that's because you're a troglodyte. But that's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there, Mr. Troglodyte. But so what I will tell you is, so that I can get access to my own Switch, I have been handing them the G Cloud with an emulator that plays GameCube games, and they've been playing Mario Kart Double Dash. So that's the only way I'm able to get my Switch back from my children, when I give them another device that plays Mario. And obviously, short of buying them another Switch, I'm just finding any other kind of, all right, this has a good processor. It can play GameCube games. Here, you take this and give me back my Switch. That's what I've been doing so far. So I think I'm going to roll a new character on the Switch and like start from scratch on the Switch. Because I hear everybody saying that the frames per second is not as bad on the Switch. Right.
No, the frames per second are super smooth.
Okay,
and I saw the Digital Foundry interview, and there's certain scenarios where, like, there's this one village. I guess there's a lot of polys on screen or whatever. But like, it is surprisingly smooth for what you get. Like to the point where it was putting the Steam Deck to shame, which I was like super surprised at.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't be surprised it's putting the Steam Deck to shame. If Nintendo optimized it for the Steam Deck and then optimized it for the Switch, then there's your apples to apples. But on the Steam Deck, it's just some people optimizing it.
I thought the Steam Deck would be able to brute force it, is what I'm thinking.
The more and compare, you and I need to regroup. Compared to where we are today versus when that game first came out, it was like a difference between, I would say, when that game literally first came out, there were maybe 2 or 3 updates or mods to fix certain things. Now there are about 15 to 20. Like, it's so hot and heavy out there, and it's changing.
And that's what I mean. I may be on an old build, but like I like the. So, and this is the thing. Again, this is why I have to keep coming back to, games are more than just speeds and feeds, and not every 30 is
not every 30 frames per second is the same, is judgeable the same. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it really, again, maybe these are just my old man eyes, but it really is something that is like, it's more than tolerable, and you just have a sense of beauty when you get to the.
So are we talking,
especially when you get to?
Are we talking Forza Horizon 30 frames per second, or have you played the 30 FPS Forza Horizon before?
I've played Forza Horizon 5, but I didn't know that it was.
Well, you can play it at 30 FPS. There's a setting when you play it at 30 FPS, and it feels super smooth. It's almost like you're limiting a rocket ship. right? It's smooth as butter because it could go further. You're just choosing to limit it. That's how it feels.
Right.
How does that feel on
And so
Switch?
the thing, no, it feels amazing. And this is the thing, right? When you have a locked frame rate, right? And you don't have those frame timing issues. And I think that's the thing that people are saying they can't play, which I agree with. Like Ghostwire Tokyo had that when it launched on the Xbox. The 30 quality mode was not playable. But there are games that run at 30, but they're locked 30 with no frame timing issues or dropped frames, and it is more than tolerable. And when you just watch the wind blow through that grass in Breath of the Wild, it is it's I don't know, it's so cool. It's so smooth that it is calming in a way. I don't know. Maybe it's the art style or whatever that works with that.
Salute to the man. Salute to the man. Slow Mo Backslap, who joins us as usual on a Saturday morning to impart some of his PG-13 slander. He says, ICK had to show us gameplay where you can barely understand what's going on to hide him dying like a lemming in Jedi Survivor.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Actually, you know what? Real quick, to his point, Slow Mo. I have not played more Jedi Survivor because even after EA said, hey, by the way, we're releasing a patch to fix all those issues. Yeah, after they released it and I installed it, it kept crashing again. So it made me go, yeah, y'all need some more patches. So I have kind of left Jedi Survivor to get to let the dust settle on its patches, issues, and whatnot, and then I'll go back to it. I'm sorry, Everborn, you were saying.
So, you know what this is reminding me of, aside from Lemmings? And this is actually, you're saying this is Lemmings 2.0.
Yeah.
But do you know, like, the bonus levels in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, where you had to get, was it Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart?
I don't think I remember a level like this in that Ratchet and Clank. I'm not sure.
No, I might be thinking of the wrong game, but it was you're leading these things, and then you have to use like whether it's a boost to shoot them in the air, you have to get them to the end. I thought it was Ratchet
you are
Clank.
you are right. There is Ratchet and Clank. There's a bonus levels in Ratchet and Clank where you're trying to get things to its destination, and you're using various like puzzles to get them to its destination. I do hear you. You're right. I do remember that. It's just not so many things like this.
No, but as that, did you finish that game?
Yes, I did. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. So, but it got more complex, and it was you were doing things like this, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I guess this is a whole game of that. So obviously,
it's a whole game of that. It's so weird and weird. It's just weird. It's the only way I can describe it. But I'm enjoying it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
Right. So
and when you and much like Tears of the Kingdom, when you use their method to discover something, you feel like a god of like immense intelligence when you finally, this is how I do this thing. Like it's just so good.
Speaking back to Tears of the Kingdom,
please,
right?
yes.
So one thing I was explaining to a friend of mine who he has not been on the Zelda train since Ocarina of Time, right? I think he did Wind Waker, but just again, many years not there. This is my casual friend that I was telling you about, where I give him weekly updates on what's happening with the ABK stuff, and he's just fascinated by it. Doesn't care, but just fascinated of a deal of this size and all the politics, and he had no idea gaming had all of this stuff going on with it. But anyway, he missed Breath of the Wild, and he was like, I heard there's building. Is it like Fortnite? And I was like, no, it's not like Fortnite. He's like, does it still feel like Zelda? And again, this is someone coming from, playing Wind Waker and Majora's Mask. That's his level of understanding of all of this. So anyway, I told him yes, but the way that I explained it to him with the building and how the open world is designed to where you can go to anywhere you look, and it promotes exploration as well as sort of engineering in a way, or building in a way.
Yeah.
And I pointed out that the way you increase your life or your stamina and your stamina is, you need it to climb and run and things like that, is that you do the shrines. And I said the shrines actually act as not tutorials, but they act in a way to open up your mind to the things you can do. And then when you get out into the real world, you start to think, well, I tried this thing in that shrine. Let me combine it with the thing I did in the other shrine. And now you're building mechs that have giant penises that shoot out fire.
Let me hit you with a something that really something that struck me that I thought was super interesting, and I'm sure you will disagree with me, and many in this chat will most likely disagree with me, but I'm really coming around to the idea of this. It seems like the creators of Zelda are almost like VR, if you will, bringing.
Oh God, nope.
Calm yourself.
Nope.
Bringing
I already disagree.
Hush your mouth. Bringing about a different paradigm of gameplay, right? Like, say what you will about Tears of the Kingdom. When the dust settles, it may become one of the greatest selling games ever, or people may not like it. Who knows? Obviously, it's going to become the greatest game ever because based on all the reviews so far, it's glowing. But before this game, when you talked about crafting, it was, you know what crafting is. Even a game as great as The Last of Us, which has great crafting systems, it's you go into you press the button, you go into your inventory, you slap together these components, and now you have it. Right? It's not actually building it, it's press button, and you have the thing based on what you wanted to create. Tears of the Kingdom, you want to craft something, there it is in the world, on the floor. What do you want to combine it with? Something in your hand. Bam, you combine it. Like, their crafting system has the ability and the capability to change the way crafting systems work in games forever. Imagine a crafting system like this, but in a real, serious game like your Last of Us, if you will.
The wild part is how it works with anything, right?
Yeah.
You can combine any two weapons together. If you can pick an object up, you can effectively, fuse it with and just even the idea of, okay, sure, you have logs, you have flat boards, and you can add wheels, or you can add a motor to a glider and fly. But when they say, hey, you got a spear, how about you add a sword to the end of it?
Yeah.
Right? It's that kind of thing that, in the same way Breath of the Wild had everyone saying, so you know how Breath of the Wild had everyone comparing every open world to it? They're like, it's almost Breath of the Wild stuff.
Yes,
right?
yes. I think that the crafting and certain game mechanics in this will be Tears of the Kingdom moving forward. Like, for instance, fusing something to an arrow. This is how it should be done from now moving forward. There should be no other method.
This is the other point that I was going to make. They make it's so complex when you think about the systems that are interacting with each other, but it's so simple.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the only thing, though, right, is a lot of people are going to try it. But when we talk about that Breath of the Wild sort of open world design, I think the only person that kind of got it right and evolved it was Elden Ring.
Okay.
No one else got it right.
Okay. But that's the thing.
So
I don't want other games to necessarily do exactly what this is doing. I want those other games to take inspiration from this and do something else, but have this at its core.
Right, but that's what I mean. I feel like Elden Ring was the only one to do that. They did their own thing while
keeping the original idea. I get you. Okay. I just hope more people try this because, honestly, say what you will about Breath of the Wild. And I have smoke for Breath of the Wild. People give all this crap to all these other games, and they hold it to a certain standard. But in Tears of the Kingdom, for example, you'll have literally water that looks like it's been placed down since 1995 game production. It is so rudimentary, so simplistic and ugly. But you don't hold it against this game because the places where they iterate is so next level that you give it you give it a pass on those other things that you would normally judge a game by, right? Like tell me I'm wrong, everyone. There have been people going, "Oh, this is your game of the year," and then you look at it and you're looking across the field and all it is the same 4 square of water that they've spread across, and you can definitely tell it's like water. There is no nuance. There is no next, even this game here that we're looking at here, which is obviously a simplistic game, right? Look at its water in comparison. There are certain things that people hold really tight when they're reviewing, but Breath of the Wild gets to get away with it for obvious reasons. And I agree with why it gets to get away with it, because they've done so much in gameplay innovation, so much in rethinking and reframing what we know, right? Because you walk into Tears of the Kingdom and you already know, you have some fundamental knowledge of what gaming is about, right? You know that a red canister is an explosive. These are the things we go into that with. And it seems like when they're making this game, they're not just relying on, okay, they know what this is about. They know what the gaming parlance is. Let's just move forward. They're okay and spend time reinventing that language better than you thought possible. And because of that, some of the stuff that others get judged poorly on, these guys get a break on. What do you think of that?
So I'll tell you what I think of it. And I see that the game gets a lot of hate that's super weird to me, because gaming is about first and foremost gameplay.
Of course.
And the wild thing is when you see people that couldn't shut up about Vampire Survivor, which has no graphics.
Yep.
And they would tell you gameplay is king.
Well, but
then they'll tell you
that's exactly
Zelda's
the same
getting a pass.
That's exactly the same pass that Zelda deserves, because that what you bring up there, the Vampire Survivors of it, that is exactly what I mean, right? They Vampire Survivors cultivated and put together such excellent gameplay that all the other things around it that does not conform to our modern standard of gameplay, that's not there, people don't pay attention to, because what you did get right, you got right so right that everything else doesn't matter. I feel like there's a lot of that in Tears of the Kingdom, right? Where they're really honing in on what they're doing best, and they're letting the graphics be what they are. Yeah, we know they're not great, but hey, you have an abacus. What do you expect?
I wanna call a spade
Please,
here, right? Because I hate it. The thing that grinds my gears the most is, as I say, when we pretend the emperor's wearing clothes.
Okay.
Right? We all know why we're having these discussions, but we're talking around it, right? Okay. So if we're gonna discuss this honestly, right? The people that are and it's one thing if you just say, okay, I was never into Zelda, and you don't have to like this game. But if we look at the people that are saying these things, there are people that are mad that let's say Redfall got attacked for 30 frames a second, and now they think that people are giving this a pass, which I don't think is a apples to apples comparison. Sure. And then you have the guys on the PlayStation side that are like, oh my God, look at why is Horizon, not looked at like this? Look at these amazing graphics. Why are you not? Why does Horizon or these other PlayStation games not get that same recognition?
Let's be
right?
real. Let's be real.
People
if the people who made Horizon fused with the team, the gameplay team at Tears of the Kingdom, they'd make the greatest playing, greatest looking game of all time. I'm just saying. They just would.
So, but the point that I'm coming at is the criticism that you're hearing isn't really about Zelda. It is actually, it's not criticism for Zelda, but it is cheerleading
it's
for whatever their
So you're saying that most of the Zelda criticism is whataboutism for all the other games, whichever game that person wanted the same attention but didn't. So it's like, well, you gave this thing, you're giving Zelda a path, but what about this one? What about that one that you didn't?
Right. Why doesn't my favorite PlayStation game get this kind of praise? You saw the same thing happen with Elden Ring, right?
Yeah.
And it's just on the Xbox side, it's different because it's like,
and by the way, let's get it straight here. I see Pixel G in the chat. Welcome, sir. He's saying, is it a joke? Horizon's gameplay is average at best. What I said was, put their visuals with Zelda gameplay. That would be the Voltron of all Voltrons as far as adventure games is concerned. Because to this day, and y'all heard me say it last week, and to this day, I feel like the team that are making the Zelda games, specifically Tears of the Kingdom, are being. They're getting short shrift because they're not being given the tools at hand to make that game shine as brightly as it could. Your gameplay is excellent, but it's almost like in order to have the gameplay be excellent, the only way to do that is to give you less than tools in order for that to be the case. And I think we had that conversation. And I'm saying that in an ideal world, which obviously we're not, and there's a lot of context to that, of course. But if we could ever find ourselves in a place where the visuals of Horizon were brought to bear with the gameplay of Tears of the Kingdom, that would be the best adventure game look and play ever. Because I feel like
absolutely, and
I feel like Horizon.
If Martin Scorsese made a superhero movie,
there you go.
It would probably be amazing, but that's not how that works.
But that's not the world we work in. That's right. Yeah.
So when your main draw is kind of like graphics or whatever, hang on.
Sure. Right. And let's be clear, it's not that the main draw is graphics, right? In the modern era where we're playing modern video games, graphics have become an important component of judging. Why? Because unlike, with the exception of Nintendo, right, and we'll give them that, right, with the exception of Nintendo, because they saw to bow out early in that process. With the exception of Nintendo, most of these platform holders are trying to sell you on graphics in addition to gameplay, in addition to story, depending on the kind of game it is, right? So if you are a modern gamer and you use graphic fidelity and how it performs and speeds and feeds as part of your judgment, I don't hate you for that, because that has been taught to you by these platform holders and these publishers selling you their games, right? Oh, look at these graphics. Oh, look at the ray tracing. Look at the fact that you can see yourself in the puddle. They've been trying to train people to do that all this time. So because they're doing that, now people actually follow that metric, right? And sometimes that metric is unfound, and you should not be using that metric. Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion, being a prime example. Everborn, what you were going to say?
Yeah. So again, when you look at a game, it's not. There's a lot of things at play. Yes, there's a story at play. There's immersion at play. There is, just core, moment to moment, like 15-second or 30 seconds of fun. What's your loop? There's all those things. There is your like building the game based on whatever your monetization strategy is. All those things are at play. So I just say that, and graphics are a piece of it. But I think we have to look at these things more holistically, and we have to look at why we are into these things. And maybe some people are just like, I'm here. I want an interactive story, or I just want, I want a Twitch shooter, right? I want, or I just want a fighting game. So, we have to look at a game for what it is trying to do.
Yeah, not
in my opinion, anyway, and
not what we want
to judge it on that.
Exactly.
Well, you only gonna look at what you want because you're the customer paying the money.
Well, no, but my point is, you can, and I'm not talking about the end consumer necessarily. With that, I mean more of the what do you call it? Those who are charged with criticizing, those who are charged with judging it. You have to judge it based on what they're giving you versus what you want from that. The consumer who pays for it can go, okay, this can be the best, I don't know, adventure game ever, being Tears of the Kingdom, but it's not for me. That's for you to decide, right?
And so that's ultimately that point right there that you said. That's ultimately what I'm trying to get at, right? When I consider a game bad. It is that they did not accomplish what they set out to do.
What they set out to accomplish.
Right?
Yes.
So you have to look at what the game is trying to do. Did it do that well?
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's how you say, okay, this game is not good, or this is a bad game, or this is a trash game.
Yep.
Now, when a game does what it set out to do well, for me, when I look at situations like that, I can just say a game is not for me. Right?
Exactly.
I can look at a game, acknowledge that it is great, and still say that's cool, just not for me. Right? I can look at an RTS game, right? Or I can look at Fortnite, or I can look at any of these. Like I can look at Destiny, right? These games they're great at what they do, and they accomplish exactly what they are trying to do, and they do it well, and they do it best in class. Even when I look at a racer, I can look at Forza Horizon 5, or when Motorsport comes out later this year, if they don't delay it until 2024. There's no date yet. But when that comes out, I can look at it, I can appreciate it, and I can turn around and say that's still not for me.
Yeah.
Right. So that is I think a better way to look at it than try to do well, what about this thing and what you said about that? Things are.
But you know that's an argument that usually tends to be disingenuous, and we try not to give them too much attention on this air. No, I do agree with you. How many hours further have you been into Breath of the Wild?
How do I find
Tears
that
of
out?
Kingdom now? I have no idea. We're talking about the Abacus, so you're gonna have to look at your watch and remember where you were when you first started the game. It's not like they have any kind of, you know.
Am I gonna have to use a sundial to figure it out?
You're gonna have to use
because
a
I'm playing on the
sundial. You're gonna have to stick your finger in the air and go. I started this. The wind was blowing towards the northeast, so it must be. Yeah. I don't know how you tell on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, okay. I have a question for you, and I think we should move on because we're
we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
Topic. And Tears of the Kingdom is the only thing I'm playing this week. So
Yep. I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm palate cleansing with Humanity. Continue.
All right. So you have not sold me on Humanity at all. Just
I haven't sold you on Humanity. I think it's weird
Not
and
even a little
interesting, and people should give it a shot. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember what I just talked about not being for me?
Exactly, and it may not be for you, but let me be clear here. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying it's an interesting game that's not getting attention because of all these other crazy interesting games, these AAA monsters that are taking all the energy out of the room. You know, it's an interesting game.
Yes,
Continue.
Ramon G. Tears of the Kingdom is awesome, and thank you for joining us. I haven't seen Ramon G in the chat before.
Yes, sir. Yes, welcome, sir. Appreciate it. And on that note, we are what is it? I think 104 people in here. Please consider hitting that like button.
That's what I want to know.
We are at 49 likes. Please hit the like button. Please tell a friend we're here. Tell a friend that they back again.
we them again.
Here.
And shout out to I see. Is it Steve Biko? How should I say that? Did I say that properly?
It seems that way. Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, Steve Biko. Yeah. Welcome,
yes,
sir.
If you want to have a frank, an intelligent discussion about politics and the state of it and all those things. He's a very smart guy there. Check him out.
Okay.
Also, very good name.
Yeah.
As a fellow Steve.
Oh, here we go. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward. Let's talk some news stories. All right, let's talk some news stories. We've been talking Tears of the Kingdom, and I expect you're going to hear us talk more Tears of the Kingdom moving forward because that game is going to be with us a while. You know, we're going to start comparing mech suits at some point. You know, it's a whole thing. And if you don't know that there are mech suits in this game, sorry.
Oh wait, okay. I did have a question before we moved on from this.
Sure,
right.
what you got?
And this hopefully we can answer it in 5 minutes because that'll be our first hour.
Okay.
I don't know why, but cooking doesn't work for me.
You don't like cooking?
No. I mean, it literally, I can't figure out how to do it.
Oh, okay. I mean, I figured it out. It's not difficult.
So you walk in front of a pot, and then you drop your items in the pot.
You walk in front of a pot. You're standing in front.
Let's say the pot is already on fire.
You walk in front of the pot. You're standing in front, and this is another thing I mean by what I meant by the crafting, right? If you want to go cook something someplace else, you walk in front of a pot. There's a pot there. It may or may not be on fire. You go into your inventory system. You build. You cook, and now you're done. In Tears of the Kingdom, you have to check if there's fire. If there isn't fire, you have to bring a flint, put the flint next to the fire, hit it so that it sparks a fire.
You also need wood.
And you need wood. Like,
and,
it is
and you have to hit it with something
crafting.
that will make something, right?
That's right. It is reinventing
you can't hit
crafting.
it with wood. It won't work.
That's right. And as far as your point as to you don't know how cooking works exactly, there are the logistics of cooking. You go into your inventory. The fire is in front of you.
By the way, before you start that, let me tell you why I don't know how to cook. Right?
Why?
I played Breath of the Wild when it first came out, and I'll tell everybody a funny story. I did everything in that game, had well over 100 hours in it. It was time to go fight Ganon at the end in the last in the castle. I did all of the bosses.
Yep.
I never fought Ganon at the end of Breath of the Wild.
I don't even know what the end quit? Is.
I just
quit
100 and something hours in.
Wow.
Well, it was not that. It was
what
something happened where
Mr. Zelda Stan, you didn't actually beat Breath of the Wild?
This is actually Breath of the Wild is the only game that I didn't.
It's always interesting how we always come here, don't we? Like Mr. Gamer, Mr. Talk about the games, have an introspective conversation about the games. Has he played GTA 5? No. Has he beaten Breath of the Wild?
But
no.
But here's the thing: I am militant about not playing GTA 5 and Breath of the Wild. I have probably a lot more hours than most people in that game. Okay. I just never did the last thing.
You just never beat the game.
I never beat the game. I put it down, and something happened. I never got back to it, and I just all these years later never went back to it.
Audience, do you think Everborn Saga is a fraud for not finishing Breath of the Wild when he's such a big Zelda stand on Earth? I'm just saying. Forgive me, but I am flabbergasted right now by your admission.
I do not know what the ending is to Breath of the Wild, but I'm right at the end. I could go there and fight Ganon right now.
But you haven't. But you just didn't.
I haven't. I could.
I don't understand, sir.
I could do it today.
I don't understand.
But anyway,
yeah, that's like a person with a bad habit saying, "I could quit. Sure, I could do it right now."
Right?
I don't know.
Now, all that being said, I had no issue cooking in Breath of the Wild, but that was back in 2017.
So what's the logistical issues you're having with the cooking process?
So when I try to drop an item in the pot, it says you can't drop this here. I walk in front of the pot, I select it, I go to drop it, it says you can't drop this item here.
That's strange. It has not happened to me. Has not happened.
Right?
I
can't drop it on. I can drop it on the floor in front of the pot.
You hold 5 things in your hand. You go back to the game. You get close enough to the pot to where you see cook as an option, and then you press the button to cook. You don't drop them, because if you drop them, that's different. You have to have the items in your hands.
Okay, no. I am
get out of the inventory.
Drop them in the pot, so I have to go and hold it. I have to press.
But that's my point. You have to you go into your inventory. You grab one of the items. It says hold or use. You say hold. Then you hold. Now you have 5 things in your hands. Then you get out of the menu. You're still holding those 5 things. You must then walk up to the pot, not drop it or choose the drop option, because yes, there is an option to drop. No, you must walk close to the pot and see cook as an option. Because as soon as you see cook, then you press cook and it drops it into the cook.
I've been selecting the items from
You've
the
been
menu
dropping
to try
them.
To drop them in the pot.
Yes. No. Yes. No manual dropping.
Now let me tell you why this happened to me. Because when he was explaining how to cook, I completely skipped that because I'm like, I got 100 and something hours in Breath of the Wild. I
ain't got time for that. I know how to do this. Yeah.
You just gotta drop it in the pot, and then
and then you manually hit drop.
Maybe another 10 hours later, I haven't cooked one thing yet.
Yeah.
I haven't wasted a portable pot because I was like, oh. Maybe this pot is not something you cook in. It just looks that way. Let me drop my portable pot to that.
Let us move on from Tears of the Kingdom, but about the cooking, I will like end it by just saying one last thing. Another thing that impresses me so much about them, right? And people who may or may not know, I'm somewhat of a cook. I can cook. I've been doing it for some time. I don't cook as much now as I used to, but I know what I'm doing in the kitchen. Tears of the Kingdom. Like, even the ingredients you put together have to make sense for it to actually turn into something, which I think is mind blowing. If you
So
go
you're not
in
using
there,
bat wings and eyeballs.
exactly. If you go in there and you have to you have to be heat resistance, right? And you grab the spicy peppers. You have to combine the spicy peppers with fish, or you have to combine the spicy peppers with beef, or something else that makes sense. Because if you don't, it'll turn into sloppy, weird goop, and you won't be able to eat it. Which I thought was just like, yes. Normally games, like, because we as gamers, we love when they cut to the chase, right? And I keep thinking of a game like Assassin's Creed, where you don't even have to get off your horse to go grab whatever component that you're trying to grab off the grass, right? You could just keep hitting the button. It's all about convenience. It's all about just get me to where I need to go, get me what I need without all the mishigas of getting there. In Tears of the Kingdom, they've made the mishigas the fun part. Like figuring out actually how to cook and what the components are necessary in order for fire to start. And, like you can't combine weird things. You have to add a little bit of onions for spice and very interesting stuff. Anyway.
About that. So I took a screenwriting course many years ago. And what they talked about is like not sort of holding the audience's hand.
Yeah.
Right. And you actually, it's weird because Hollywood like does this right now.
Spends all time holding your hand.
Don't realize what.
Yes.
Not only that, they're so heavy-handed in the lesson they're trying to teach you that it feels like they're being lectured or preached to, and then you have all these people creating channels of rage content that is whatever. But anyway, the point is, people don't like it, and they know when you're doing it. Right. And it's not that they're not on board with you, but when you do it for them, it's less gratifying. So
they need to come to that realization themselves.
They need to come to that themselves. So the thing about Tears of the Kingdom and what it does with its approach to puzzle solving, because there's a lot of games that do puzzle solving, but you have to figure it out one way, right? This is the other thing I was explaining to a friend of mine who's going to get into this game because he just got it. I was like, I could do something in that game and I could solve it, and it won't help you at all because you're going to do it your own way, and that's the beauty of it. So if I say
El Greco 17 in the chat asking, what is this game? It looks very intriguing. I'm just saying it is a game called Humanity, sir. I'm sorry. Continue, sir. I'm just pointing out that I'm not the only one that thinks this is a weird, interesting game. Continue.
So the point that I was coming to was what they told me in the screenwriting class was 2 + 2 is 4. Right? Super boring. If I say to you 2 + X is 4, now you're involved.
Yeah, because now
you have to figure out.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really the point, because once you figure out, once you solve for X, you're now invested.
You're part of the equation now. Yeah, absolutely.
You're not being lectured to. You are a part of it. And that makes you feel smart, makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel like you're engaged in the story being told to you. And I think the same can apply for gameplay here. And I think that's the kind of if you break down the methodology of what this is, it is that. Right?
Absolutely.
So
that's
folks, a thing to think about.
Let us move forward. I know some may not like that we're so much Tears in the Kingdom talk, but that game deserves some attention. I really do. The only problem with it is the fact that it's on the damn abacus. But we'll move forward from there. All right. So let's get into some of the news proper, the news topics.
I think the game's punching above its weight on the
abacus. I do. I agree too. I think it's punching above its weight. It's succeeding on the Switch in spite of the bad hardware. That's neither here nor there. Let's talk.
Steve Biko says we need garlic powder in Tears of the Kingdom. I said I need some adobo. Is what I need.
Well, he's talking.
I need some curry.
He's talking about probably Vampire Survivors. Garlic being the greatest substance on earth in that game. You need garlic in Tears of the Kingdom. Would be good. You put some, Hey, it being on PC now, I want somebody to come out with a mod that every time you're cooking somebody, he does one of these things. It'd be cool. It'd be interesting. I want to see it. But all right, let's talk some news stories proper. And for me, one of the greatest things to come out, and forgive me, WB, if y'all are coming for me, y'all are going to come for me. I'm not going to play the video. I'm just going to show what you guys have on your website, and that is Mortal Kombat 1. Sir, have you seen this video? How excited are you? I will tell you, I am a schoolboy right now. Please, tell me what your thoughts.
I think that this may be the greatest year in fighting history. Right?
History, bro. History.
When you think you have Street Fighter 6 coming, which is looking like it's going to be one of the best.
Although I will
Obviously
say it looks like their campaign looks a little weird, but okay. I played the demo, the Street Fighter, the demo, the campaign is just a little bit, but yes, continue.
But and I heard Post Up was doing a show, and he had some some people that are really into the fighting scene, and they said that they were reading about this, and what people were talking about is this is going to Mortal Kombat. It's gonna be like sort of team based, and when I say team based is you can bring people in, but you don't switch characters like say a Marvel vs. Capcom. This is you're doing a combo. And
they come in real quick and then they peace out. Interesting, okay.
Right, and then you know, depending on who you're pairing together, you can chain your sort of fatalities and things like that. And so
I'm just super excited that they took everything they've built and they threw it away except for the characters. That's literally what they did. They took everything they built, all the lore, all the story, except for the characters and where you find them in the last bit. Because spoiler alert for an old game, if you played through the campaign of the last Mortal Kombat, Liu Kang is a god now. And in this Mortal Kombat, although Chronica, they basically rebuilt time and all that. Now all those people who were there at the last are still here now, keeping their powers in the new status they're in. But it's a whole new world, whole new story. I'm so excited.
Shout out Jax in MK11 and his ending where he chose to go back in time and stop slavery.
Yep.
And let's just talk about the fact that every time travel movie you see is racist. Because they don't go do that. That is supposed to be job one, but they don't do it.
You know, if you're not going back to go dismantle racism, you part of the problem. I'm just saying. Any movie you were talking about, if you're talking time travel and you talk about Hitler, but you don't talk about slavery, you're part of the problem. I don't disagree with you.
That's another thing. Jean-Claude Van Damme is going to be a skin for Johnny Cage, or is he going to just be the main Johnny Cage? Is he like?
See, I didn't know that. Jean-Claude Van Damme is a skin for Johnny Cage. That is awesome.
And
now you think they would
Johnny
do that
Cage,
for
in the
Street
new
Fighter?
Mortal Kombat? Well, in the new Mortal Kombat movie,
isn't it going to be what's his name?
Carl Urban is going to be Johnny
That's right.
Cage.
That's right. Which is also very cool. I'm looking forward to see that. So a quick aside: that man has a meteoric this filmography, man. For gamers specifically, that man does not know how to miss.
Yeah, man.
He's amazing.
Judge Dredd and all that.
Yeah.
But so about this game, and Slow-Mo saying there's a rumor Homelander will be in the game, which will be great. And the more MK11 and MK10 or whatever, all the people that they brought in, didn't they bring in like Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger and all that?
They had the whole thing. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's all great, and the story looks like it's going to be super interesting, more interesting than the Mortal Kombat movie. But we'll see if this is inspiration for the new one.
So what Slow-Mo is saying, and I think Slow-Mo, you get this one. This is the one. This is the one. He wants Bruce Leroy and Sho'nuff in the game. Yes, sir. Give me that. Give me that
1,000%.
And when you make Sho'nuff, make sure that you make him look like King David. Let's move forward, shall we? Continue.
No, he has to look like a young Busta Rhymes.
No, come on. Give me the King David flavor. I would love that. With the white beard? Come on now. I'm sorry. Continue.
Right. The other thing is, and Gerald Mack, no, we got a whole hour dedicated to the
No,
ABK
not at all.
Yeah,
we're going ABK.
We're
going to go
hard, but we're not there yet.
Yep.
So so I love the idea that they're going to start it over, because it always was weird to me with Mortal Kombat that it's like this is a once in a generation tournament, but we're up to part 12.
Up to part 15 or whatever, yeah.
Right.
It is literally ludonarrative dissonance, the game. Right. It's always, this is the most important thing, but there's 15 others that have been before.
Right. And the wild thing is that as you'd have new iterations, and it's like, well, they know each other, but how do you know each other if the tournament only happens once? 1,000 years or whatever.
Yes.
So my thing is, this is an opportunity for them to streamline the story,
rewrite,
and build from there. So story looks interesting. MK11 was fun. I'm excited about the characters, but unlike Street Fighter and Tekken reveals, we don't know what they're gonna do gameplay wise.
Yeah, we don't.
I know we can trust them.
Yeah.
We can definitely trust them, but we haven't seen it.
That's true. We haven't seen it.
So I want to see what change. I want to see what it looks like, this partner system that I heard about. And
not long to wait either. September 19th. Woo! Interesting.
And Tekken doesn't have a date yet. Do you think it still makes it?
I mean, they've been full court press for some time now, as far as Tekken showing you all the things. I feel like it's just
maybe they were waiting on the Mortal Kombat date.
Maybe, yeah. Of all of the fighting games that I've seen so far, I think Tekken has come out the gate the strongest so far, with MK notwithstanding.
Visually,
they
came out visually, and they're
showing you stuff
running.
Yeah.
Where you thought it was a cutscene.
Yeah. So I'll be surprised if it ends up like delayed. I think that they're automation.
So I want to talk about this, and I know part of this is like the whole the T virus delay, and how it's just like push all the reason 2023 is so amazing for gaming. You wouldn't know that by listening to people complain, but the reason 2023 is so amazing for gaming is because a lot of these games probably were supposed to come out sometime in the last 2 years at different times, and so now it all makes sense to come out now. But what I think we are getting ready to see, especially with what you see from Street Fighter 6, and I want to credit Killer Instinct, which would be that's your one more thing that you should do at the Xbox show. But sort of these things feel like they're gonna be like service games, and I feel like a fighting game was the first service game when you think about the arcade and
MK was
and
basically the
ranking,
first service game, kind of.
And so I think you're gonna see these things, and we're gonna have to figure out what the monetization strategy is, because I know it's gonna be skins, and I heard they're only gonna start you with 6 characters.
But remember, they've already done this already. Like all the MKs before it are service games. They've been service games. That's where you got your Rambo characters. That's where you got your T1000. You know, they've been doing this since for a while now, right? And they're also selling you potential next version of the campaign in this fighting game as well, like they did in MK11, right? They did Aftermath after they sold you the first campaign. And then they sold you a bunch of combat packs with all of your favorite 80s fighters. So, they've solved this problem. They know how to do this, and they're going to do it again, I suspect.
Right, and so I think what I would pay for, and this is I'm speaking as someone who, will buy a game on day one, and you're not getting any microtransaction money from me unless it's something like I'm not paying for a skin, right? But if you're telling me you're introducing a new character and that character has their own sort of campaign, and you can see a story which has an ending, and you tied it in, I would absolutely pay for that.
Yep. Oh, right? And I see the Black John is saying MK is coming out on Switch too, which I thought that was super interesting. It is only on current gen consoles and the Switch. So PS5, series consoles, and the Switch. I'm like, so you'll hit the Switch, but you won't go PS4 or Xbox One? That was a little odd to me, but okay.
So Splendiferous has an interesting question that I think is worth bringing up. And shout out to Splendiferous.
Let's see, where's Splen? I see Splen. I don't see
Which MK has the best storyline, mythologies included?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer.
They all meld together for me.
Yep.
But chat, Let's ask the chat that.
That is a good question. Yeah, which MK is the best? Give us throw some of your MK campaign theories in the chat here. Which one is the one that's the best? I honestly think by virtue of how Mortal Kombat has iterated on the one before it and the one before it, it makes the latest and greatest the best because it encapsulates everything that was there beforehand. They don't circumvent the last one. So they build on 10 with 11. And I suspect, well, we'll see how this one goes. This one, it looks like they're
but here's the
cleaning
thing.
it up.
This is actually a sequel, right? In the way that, let's say, Final Fantasy VII Remake is kind of a sequel, right?
It's a sequel in that it's a sequel in that Chronica's world has now established where all these characters now exist after the time has been rebuilt, and Liu Kang was a god because of Chronica, and now he stays a god. So it's continuing that line.
Even though it's Mortal Kombat 1, that is still sort of in canon, the original story. Because the world had got so destroyed in MK11.
Yep.
Now, he's still a god, so there is continuity there. Yep. And in continuity, the world kind of had to be remade through those time powers. So MK1 actually makes sense if you look at the ending of MK11.
I really think, and we'll move on from this, but like 10-year-old me needed to give this game some time because 10-year-old me lived and breathed Mortal Kombat. Like, and the fact that they are still iterating, and we've been talking about innovation in the game space all episode, right, with Tears of the Kingdom. I believe in fighting games, no one has innovated more than WB and with the Mortal Kombat franchise, as far as how well they add a campaign in and basically make the whole campaign a tutorial for multiplayer when you're done. The whole campaign is a tutorial because you play so many different characters. I mean, if you recall, MK of yore, you pick your favorite main and you stick with it, and you never play any of the other characters because it takes so much time and effort to get one character under your belt. They made the campaign so that now everyone gets to dabble in every other character while it still continues to be interesting and all the crazy twists and turns they bring to bear in the campaign. So I hope to continue down that line. I have no thoughts that they won't. And actually, I want Tekken and I want Street Fighter to follow suit as far as where Mortal Kombat's going, specifically with campaign.
So to that end, right? And I know everybody's gonna hate that I say this.
Okay, go ahead.
Which is exactly what I'm about to say.
Why are you gonna say it? Go ahead.
And you, in the chat before I say this, I'm gonna let you know you're not gonna change my mind. Not that you have to, but I feel like on that Mount Rushmore of fighters, I feel like Killer Instinct could be there.
Oh yeah.
And it is not regarded in the same. And again, that's just because there's been less versions because Microsoft won't get their head out of their behinds and make a sequel, which is wild. But like, how are we in 2023? You're having a fighting game renaissance. You should be here right now.
Yes, you should.
You have Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Tekken. Yep. Right? I would love if Sega gave us another Virtua Fighter. That was the only fighting game I was actually decent at. But again, so I think that the reason KI.
Oh, stop! Let's not. Okay, if you start this is going to turn into a 4-hour podcast. I want to move on from the story. I will cut to the chase and I will dash his dreams. He wants Killer Instinct to be multiplat. I think he's ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what?
This is not a prescription for all games. This is not saying they need PlayStation or anybody.
Hold on.
Let
me do a poll.
As a fighting game, as a service game, it would be regarded up there with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and Tekken if it was multi-platform.
Here we go.
And it's never been because it was exclusive to Nintendo before it was exclusive to Xbox.
Be multi-plat.
They're gonna say no.
Why?
But again.
Why are you hating on our audience?
I already know because they think I'm saying this because they need PlayStation. I don't care about PlayStation. I'm saying as a fighting game, if you look at the games that are successful and regarded at that level, they are all multi-platform. And Street Fighter, when it went exclusive once, it took a dip back.
All right, so folks in the chat, if you happen to be watching, we appreciate you being here. 120 plus folks in here. Thank y'all so much for being here. Hit that like button.
I am drunk off of good sense.
Hit that like button. The question is, should Killer Instinct be multi-plat? Yes, no, Everborn is drunk. Let's move forward to the next story. Now, this is PlayStation.
I chose Everborn is drunk.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Now, let's move on to PlayStation, because PlayStation has a 2023 showcase coming up on May 24th, which is what? In 4 days. It's literally like right around the corner. We have been on this show.
Wait, sorry, 1 second. Pixelbit G says, what is the name of Nintendo's multi-plat fighter? Smash Brothers is not regarded in the same level of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. It is not.
And it shouldn't be, because here's where I will pull my card and say, even though in the annals of fighting games, and when I say fighting games, like, I hate it. Like, you'll see me angry right now saying it, but yeah, people consider Smash Brothers as good as those, even though I think those people are ridiculous. But that's neither here nor there. I've heard it long enough in my gaming career that I have no choice but to be quiet and just let them have their way. People consider consider Splatoon a shooter in the caliber of COD. People consider Smash Brothers a fighter in the caliber of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I disagree wholeheartedly.
First of all, do you even have a normal life bar in Smash Brothers?
But
it's not a fighting game. That's not.
Look, you will lose that battle. Listen, we're not going to have a 5-hour podcast.
I am someone who thinks that if Microsoft gets Activision, they should bring COD exclusive out of spite because of what Sony did. I am not on the board of things need to be multi-platform, but I do think as a fighter, for it to be recognized and get the respect it deserves, because I believe it is up there. It came out in the 90s. It was an arcade hit. It was doing its own thing with combos.
But look. Listen to a great community
Killer
member.
Instinct could be as big as these.
Great community member misused. Dorian Gray in the chat, salute to you, sir. He says Smash was at Evo every year till Sony bought it. So by that estimation, right, if you're using Evo, which is the fighting tournament of fighting tournaments, if you're using Evo as the barometer, then Smash is part of Evo, right? I don't agree, but I can't. I have no choice.
How big is Killer Instinct at Evo?
It used to also be pretty big for some time. But that was some time back. And of course, Killer Instinct has since died because Microsoft didn't keep up with it. But there was a time where Killer Instinct was at Evo, right? There definitely was a time where that happened. But yes, we won't go there because I think that's where you and I are minorities in this. I refuse to consider Splatoon a shooter. I refuse to consider Smash Brothers a fighter, but I know I'm in the minority. I know it. Let us move to the PlayStation Showcase 2023 coming on May 24th, right?
Sure.
You and I on this show have been talking about how we know that they've been holding all those bullets in the chamber for almost 2 years now. Do you think this is when they finally start shooting?
Absolutely. I think it is going to be blood in the streets.
So you think this is going to be the show of shows PlayStation's been waiting to do all this time?
So I think, so first there's several things to this. Sony has a huge sort of pipeline, and they have hooks into the old industry, into the whole industry, being the market leader. We talked about this yesterday. Sony doesn't have Hollywood connections. They are Hollywood.
Sony is Hollywood, right? Yes. That's the only reason why they were able to do The Last of Us the way they were able to do it. No one else would have had the clout to be able to jump in there and do it that way.
But further than that, being who they are, you would almost imagine that they have first pick of any Hollywood IP that people want to translate and take seriously. Right? And so I think by necessity, for two reasons. One, they were also affected by the whole T-virus thing, and their production pipelines just got slowed down, just like everyone else.
Yep.
Things got delayed. They had stuff in the pipeline, but a lot of it was things that were in production long before, and they were PS4 games, right? What you are going to see now is the PS5 stuff, the things that they were building when they designed this console, the deals that they had in place for different.
So this is them
IP.
finally stepping outside of cross-gen.
It's not only them stepping outside of cross-gen, it is them actually being ready after that delay. Because see, Microsoft stuff got delayed, but they had no choice. They didn't have the option because they didn't have any other games, but they had to show us stuff that were so far out. Sony had the luxury of having so many things in the pipeline and having the trust of their customers that they didn't have to show us. But now that they're further along, they actually can show us things. And that's part one of it. Part two here is they were arguing to every regulator that would listen to them. Ironically, it was ignored by literally everyone that they talked to. But they were telling people they couldn't compete without this one IP, while not highlighting the fact that they had deals with the entire industry and they had all these things coming. So I think while they were trying to look weak the last 2 years because they didn't want to give Microsoft ammo in the debate they were having with regulators, now you are going to see it. And this show is designed to come out at a time where the Activision deal was set to close. So let's say that they planned for a world where it did close. They would have to come out and show the world it doesn't matter if we won't be the main home of COD anymore.
Yeah, of course.
Look at all the stuff we have.
Yeah. It's nothing
and
to see
that's
here
what
tactic.
This show is.
Of course. Yeah,
right?
I agree with you on that.
And them skipping like 2 years even makes it more surprises that they can have. So I think the show is going to be full of surprises. I think you're going to see all the things they were hiding so that they could pretend that they were weak, so that they could lie to regulators. And I think it's going to be this show is going to set the foundation for the rest of the generation for that platform.
So we have TSWS Gaming in here saying that Kay Asante wants Horizon Zero Dawn remake with the TV announcement. Rolling my eyes. Bro, I would be very happy for that remake. I'm sorry. You are right. Yes, I'm a fraud. I enjoyed that game. Yes, Gaming NyQuil, all that. I hear you. You're right. Let's continue, sir. Hey, you called me out. I will 100% be down with it. But Everborn, what I want to know from you, sir. What I want to know from you, sir. We know of Spider-Man 2. We know of Wolverine. What else should we be keeping an eye out? Because it seems like we are a flush with code names on the Xbox side, but on the PlayStation side, all you know is Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. And we're talking only first party. Obviously, third party will give you lots of different things to fill it in, and we're looking forward to seeing all of the different things that they bring to bear and all that, and they will, I'm sure. But first party specifically, what other pieces of the puzzle do you expect to see? I'm showing on the screen here some potentials that people want to see. We're talking Ghost of Tsushima 2. We're talking, the multiplayer aspect of The Last of Us. What do you think?
I definitely think we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get a story trailer for Wolverine. I don't think we're gonna get gameplay for it. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to get like a little vertical slice of Spider-Man that's going to have your eyes melting because it's PS5 only. Yep. Right? And so I think you're going to get this Spider-Man that's going to be looking like Ratchet and Clank.
I'm looking forward to this Astrobot game. If they have an Astrobot game, I'd be excited. Anybody who hasn't played Astrobot, you got to play Astrobot. It's really good. Like almost Super Mario levels of good in their platforming. It's very, very, very good.
Right. I think, and I'm not saying that Naughty Dog is one to miss, but I think that fractions or fractions
Factions, yeah.
yeah I don't think it's gonna hit.
You think this show will come and go without factions being shown off?
No. I think it'll be there. I'm saying I don't think it's gonna.
It's not gonna connect to the people.
The thing that we've waited this long for.
Okay. Yeah. That is an interesting theory. That is an interesting theory. Yeah.
So, and another thing, like I hear Jeff Grubb is saying that KOTOR is dead.
It's also yeah.
I would like to just harken back to when we first heard about KOTOR, and we heard who was making it.
Yep.
Spire.
It was a mobile developer.
On air, that if we look at their history, they've never done anything like this. And there's a difference to say you have a AAA studio that's trying a new genre from you've never done anything at the scale of it. You've done.
This isn't Playground
and
Games.
That doesn't take anything away from you.
This is not Playground Games.
Right. So what we were expecting for KOTOR, it was weird to me that they chose that studio. And now here we are that they've taken them off the studio. They've moved them. They've moved the game to another studio, and you know we shall see what happens there. So on that note, I don't know that I expect to see KOTOR. Now, there is a game from Team Ninja, right? That we saw in the third party showcase. It's kind of like a Dragon Inshin, but it's
but it's a different.
Way better.
It's almost like PlayStation chose the better of the two options. Yes. Go ahead.
Right. So Wolong went into Game Pass.
Xbox.
They worked with Xbox for that, but PlayStation got the high fidelity.
You mean Rise of the Ronin coming in 2024?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. That I think we're gonna see that. Obviously, we're gonna see Stellar Blade, maybe with a release date.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, Rise of the Ronin, developed in assistance by Sony XDev.
This is what I mean. That Rise of the Ronin is gonna make you, like, if you don't have a PlayStation,
you want one.
Start looking at your wallet and saying, "What are we doing here?"
Yep.
So that's one I'm excited for. But one thing I do think, what I'm more interested in is, we're gonna see some of this gameplay stuff, and this whole service, these 12 service games we're talking about, I don't think that's all they're doing, right? I do think they still have some of their tried and true story driven whatever.
Oh yeah. I expect to see them too. Yeah.
I think that we are going to see something new that is that single player over the shoulder focus, but something that's gonna again be like tech demo style, kind of blow you away. And I think they're gonna show something in that vein that is gonna be like that Hellblade level sort of gameplay reveal or whatever. And I think they'll take it further than Hellblade took it.
Okay.
Because again, the Hellblade thing wasn't really like in game.
Sure. No, I get it. Okay.
So for me, the most exciting thing here is the things that we don't know about. I don't care anything about Horizon.
No, not at all.
Horizon over there.
Oh well, we're gonna leave this on the screen right now because this is my
question to you though.
Yeah.
Is how much is VR gonna take up the show? I also don't care about that.
I actually think and this is a make or break moment for me in VR with them, because like I've said this to you and I've said it on a few shows. I have a budget for the PSVR 2. I've had one for a while now. I want to get one, but with their releasing every game that has been on every other platform, it's made me not feel like it, because it's like I have all these games on other platforms. I have it on a 4090 PC. Like, it'll look better here. Show me a game that's exclusive to you that makes me want to get the hardware. So I'm hoping, me personally, that, 10, 15 minutes, I see Erodimus saying it's about 10, 15 minutes of VR content. I hope they show me something that makes me want to get their headset, because I want to get their headset. You know, I just need content that's unique to them, and I haven't seen that yet. So I hope so.
Another thing that I want to add here in terms of like a prediction, I don't know what it will be, but I promise you, Xbox fans are not going to be happy at the end of this show.
No, of course not. Of course not. There'll be some money hat. There'll be something that
that's
will
what I mean.
piss
And it's not.
you off,
it is not.
sure.
It is not going to be because you think the show is so much better than what Xbox has. That's not what I'm talking about at all.
Yeah,
what I am saying
they're gonna steal something from you.
I think there's going to be a disrespectful money hat that people.
I don't disagree at all.
They will not. You're not going to hear the end of it.
Yep.
For a year or two until that game comes out, and another year after.
I don't disagree. Since KOTOR didn't become that, because KOTOR was that, and now it looks like KOTOR is being shoved to the corner, they're gonna find another money hat that will piss everybody on other platforms off.
Lemon is correct. People cry about everything,
of
but
course.
specifically, you are gonna see Oh No It's Alex videos about some
some of this stuff. Okay,
some people's reaction to this, because these are the deals. These are the deals that they did not want to show the court, that Microsoft specifically. There are money hats here.
Yep,
there are going to be games that used to be multi-platform, and they're going to lock stuff down. I promise you, you're going to be upset. That's it.
So I will say, I see people in the chat talking about Half-Life Alyx. That would be awesome if they get Half-Life Alyx on the PSVR 2. I'm looking forward to that. For y'all who haven't played it, it wouldn't do much for me because I've played it, right? This is why I haven't gotten one, because although they have great games on that platform, they are great games that I have played on other platforms, right? I want something unique, something that is for them and them alone. Half-Life Alyx will be great for y'all who haven't played it, but it wouldn't be great for me because I already have it on the PC, right? So that's neither here nor there. All right. So for me personally,
and now, or just one more thing. I hate to keep coming in again.
No, go ahead.
One such game, like Patman Jones says, that would have certain Xbox content creators crying is Sunset Overdrive 2.
Yeah.
And
maybe a
all
remaster.
You need is a JPEG for that.
Maybe a remaster of Sunset Overdrive 1, Shadow Drop, and Sunset Overdrive 2 in the works. Because Insomniac is prolific. They could have made that, ported it to PS5, and having it sitting there waiting for the announcement. I wouldn't be surprised, and I'd be awesome. I would love. I've actually replayed Sunset Overdrive on the Steam Deck. I would love to replay it on the PS5. I love that game. It's great. Providing there's another one coming.
And Pixel points out a great point. People are going to be crying, and they probably didn't beat the first one. And then you beat
Sunset Overdrive 1. Yes, absolutely.
But so another thing is, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see it play out. You're going to see the titles. Xbox is doomed. Xbox needs to buy more money hats. Xbox needs to go get their own superhero game. Why isn't Xbox doing this? I can't have that. Oh my God, Sony is doing their bully tactics.
For the smoke. You can't wait for the smoke when that happens.
And all the stuff that the Xbox guys were excited about, even though they know what the plan is, they was on board with it. They're gonna see Sony, and it's gonna be like squirrel. Why can't you do that? Why can't you get the zeitgeist? What? So Xbox's show will never be able to live up to this.
Oh, God.
Get Phil Spencer on the phone.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Speaking.
This is what you're gonna see. And that speaks nothing to how good or bad the Xbox show is going to be.
Speaking of the Xbox show, let's talk a bit about the Xbox show. We've talked about it before, but I want to talk about it again. This is a week or two after the PlayStation show, and we've already discussed it. We know of some of the code names that may potentially show up here. Much like PlayStation, I think you and I are both in agreement that Xbox needs to also pull out a full court press on this one. Give us
1,000%.
Make people excited to be part of the platform again. All that whole thing. Here's my question to you specifically about the Xbox show. Do you think, much like in the past, where PlayStation is waiting for Xbox to release to come out with their show so that they can quickly adapt. Do you think that there's enough time between the Xbox show and the PlayStation show that if PlayStation
I don't even know
drops
what you're
something,
going to ask. There's not enough time. The show is the show.
No, the show is the show.
It takes so long to put these things together.
You think that Sony drops the gauntlet, comes out with the E3 of dreams, and Microsoft will have no ability to counter in case theirs is not at that level and they have a week to go?
I am not. Well, first of all, it's not possible, and Paris talked about this. Like,
sure, of course,
he's been a part of these
100%.
shows. It takes
not
so
possible.
long to get these
anything
things
working.
together.
Yep.
The show's gonna be the show. You can do a JPEG if you have something.
This is my point, though.
Now
there are multiple shows in the mix, meaning they may or may not say, "Oh, last minute," just like last time. Avowed was supposed to be shown off, but they ended up keeping that for next time. I guess my question is, since there are those that aren't ready, you're not gonna be able to do anything about that. That it is what it is. But they are putting the pieces together right now to say, okay, this is the show. Do you see a world where Sony drops the gauntlet and then Microsoft goes, okay, we were going to go left, but now let's go right because of what Sony has shown us.
So about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Sony's show is going to be great, and I love this. I love the back and forth. Right, because you want to see that. That's why we got into this, and that's why I even have these discussions on shows and in the Twitter streets or whatever. You want to see them go blow for blow, and you want to see them try to, compete with the games they're going to show. That being said, I actually kind of disagree with the premise.
Okay,
and I think even though yes, Xbox did a show last year. There wasn't a lot in that show because of it was limited to 12 months.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, they may as well have not done a show last year, right? In terms of what they showed that was future leaning, right? And so technically, they've both kind of been waiting 2 years to do a show.
True.
Right.
True.
And that being said, I think that.
So
that
real quick, AJH in here with a quick chat in the chat that I think is very, very interesting. He says he thinks that Microsoft should go and get the Plucky Squire. He's being selfish, bro. If they got the Plucky Squire day one Game Pass, that'd be a big deal. Because the Plucky Squire is almost indie fodder, true, but it's at that level of Silksong, like really big indie game. That would be such an interesting look. Interesting. I'm sorry, continue, Everborn.
Right. So I think in the same way that Sony has been holding their cards close to their chest, I think Microsoft was also playing weak for regulators.
Sure.
And I think Microsoft thought, and I don't think this, I know this, they thought the deal would be done around
by now. Yeah.
So their idea was, we have to be coy, we got to talk to regulators, we got to play nice, we're going to take some hits in the press. This is completely separate from all the mess ups they did. They did mess ups. I'm not saying all the mess ups were planned.
Yeah, that's neither.
But what I am saying is, in terms of what they have shown us, they've been holding cards close to the chest. So I am not tempering any expectations to the show, and I expect Xbox, with what they have been holding back, to rival or defeat. And when I say I'm not saying I know that they're going to do that. I'm saying that is my bar. I am not grading.
So you expect
Xbox
them to melt faces, and if they don't melt faces, you have a problem.
They should be. You know what I mean? And the reason.
But I guess I need you to answer the question. If we're done here, right? The show is come and gone. The dust settles. It was a good 7.5. No faces were melted. Would you be disappointed?
I will be disappointed, and you will not get a well actually from me. You will not get a this needs context, right?
Okay.
The show needs to deliver.
So this is
100%.
it. So I guess by your barometer, then you're kind of sort of agreeing with
No,
Destin Legary.
No,
Before
I'm
we
not.
get there, before we
No,
get
I'm
into
not.
that one, let me quickly pop up the super chat, $5 super chat from a great member of the community who happens to also be random citizen, saying Sony can money hat all they want. Microsoft will buy that publisher later. Big bank take little bank. Indeed, sir. Indeed. Now the
Hold the
question
line.
remains.
So-
the question
so-
remains if they're able to purchase. We will see that. But to your point, Everborn, you're saying if this does not blow you away, let me be clear. If this does not blow you away, you will be disappointed. Now I know you have not read fully this Destin Legary article, but the long and short of it is basically that same sentiment you're saying. It's like. And I'm just giving you a synopsis of what this article is. It's basically saying because of all of the context that you and I both know, there's a lot riding on this show and specifically Starfield. And you disagree?
It is, and I think this article, because he doesn't go as far as to say, Xbox is like over with as far as I understand
they're not saying
it.
doomed.
And I want to be, I want to be clear. I like Destin. We follow each other. We DM from.
I like
time
Destin's
whatever.
content. I think he does great stuff. Yeah.
I watch every one of his videos. I think so. There's two sides to this. Is it that serious? Absolutely not. So you asked, what does it mean if the show is not on par or better with Sony's show? It means I will be disappointed, and then it ends there. It doesn't mean some greater overarching, oh my God, they're now in crisis mode or whatever. But I think it is naive to say that if Starfield is another Redfall situation, that
It's over.
things won't go.
Put your box in
wild,
the trash. It's over. It's over, ladies and gentlemen.
right? Because to
Starfield
me,
is like Redfall.
Starfield was a black eye.
Yeah.
But by no means was it the end of the world that people. Sorry, Redfall was a black eye. But by no means is it an indicator of all the other things going on, and by no means is it things are over here, right? It was just what it was, and it was a mistake, and it was a black eye, and it was an L, and all that, right? That was Starfield. I can look at Starfield in the context, and this is how the whole hold the line thing got started, right? You saw the people crying, and you saw the negative feedback loop, and everybody switching sides, and all that stuff happened with Redfall. And if what I'm saying is, it is naive to think if that happened for Redfall, what do you think is going to happen if Starfield is anything that less than great? It doesn't mean the end of Xbox, but it does mean people are going to lose their minds.
Ever-loving
worse
minds.
than Redfall.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Right?
there
Now-
are 168 people in here. Please hit the like button. We only see 79 likes. Please get the like ratio up to par. We appreciate so many people checking us out. It's awesome.
Also, if you're not following, please follow and tell people to follow us, right?
Yeah. Tell people,
try to
let them
give
know. Let them
everybody
know
a
we
different
here.
take.
And we're having a good time. A very interesting conversation. Let me quickly just stop this poll. We had a poll going, asking if Killer Instinct
I think you should
be
let it get to
multi-plat.
100 votes. Let it
should
get
let-
to 100 votes. We got 96 votes.
We got 96 votes. Okay, 4 more people, please vote, and then we'll get to the we'll get to the.
But back to the Xbox showcase, right?
Yeah.
And we can dovetail into this article. I specifically because I have a rule now, right? That I don't know why people keep falling for it every time, right? Because now you had a similar Paul Tassi article that got magically written after this got so much attention and traction. And if you share an article just to debunk it or crap on it or call it out,
Yeah,
you've already done your job for them.
You're helping them. Yes, you're helping.
You
them.
shared it, you've clicked it, you've read it. They got their click, they got their AdSense revenue. It's over. This is the reason they keep writing these articles.
Because
right?
you're clicking on
So for me, when people share those with me, I don't click on them. You're not going to get my click if I feel like even if the article is good, but the headline for SEO reasons is bad, you're not going to get me. because you wrote a clickbaity headline.
Sure.
So, but that being said, I do think that you have to understand if Starfield is not, at least at a level of greatness or whatever. It's gonna be a whole, like, Phil had to come out and apologize for Redfall. Use your thinking, put on your thinking cap and think what happens if Starfield's not that. Is it the end for the business? Absolutely.
I mean,
not.
To be fair though,
sure,
he didn't have to come out and have and apologize for Redfall, as Paris Lily had pointed out on the last show. They already had an interview booked. It just so happened that, unfortunately, serendipitously,
I'm telling you right now,
you would have.
I would have canceled it if it was me. But that to Xbox's E3 show and what it means and what's the larger picture behind it. I do think that us seeing Perfect Dark gameplay, right? Us potentially, hopefully, maybe seeing what kind of game Everwild is. There's enough lore, enough intrigue around those things that if you show those to us, plus some things we don't know about, I think they can wow us just as much as PlayStation does. Because I keep saying this, and people don't get it. It is not about the third-party games that Sony is able to partner with people with. It's not about the money hatting. It's not about any of that, right? What it is about is Microsoft needs to make you feel so good about the content they are giving you that someone else having something on the other side of the pond
shouldn't bother.
Shouldn't make a difference to you.
Yep.
And I can give you an example of that. Why is it that when there is a third-party money hat, or Sony shows off something that like looks amazing and everybody wants it or whatever, why don't Nintendo fans get upset? Why don't you hear them coming out and saying,
because Nintendo
"Oh my God,
fans,
Sony's playing dirty"?
Because Nintendo fans are still trying to figure out how to put gameplay on Twitter. Their hardware is,
Sure, but again, you don't hear Nintendo fans coming out and saying, "Oh my God, developers are not using the tools in the Switch." They don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
But Nintendo serves a different audience.
Job,
it serves a different audience.
They serve gamers, right?
But it's a different audience.
Right?
It's a different audience.
Okay,
of gamers.
so guess what? You can play Minecraft and Roblox on it. They have it doesn't matter, right? The point is, however you differentiate, you need to
Mr.
provide...
Joanna Dark, aka what will we call him from now on? We'll call him the Switch Stand, aka Mr. Joanna Switch Stand Dark. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yes.
You need to provide your fans with games such that that are a part of your ecosystem, right? That they're so good that you don't care. That you just look at the other guys and say, "Oh, that looks cool." Yeah. Now let me get back to this, right? So you know that meme where you see a bunch of people, they're having fun, and then somebody comes over there like they want to detract, and you just go give them the thumbs up, and then go right back to, whatever fun you were having. That's Xbox's.
I mean, Slow-Mo's being
job.
Slanderous here, but he has a point too, though. He says
what does he say there?
Because if Nintendo fans want Sony games, they don't ask Nintendo to make Sony games. They just go buy a PlayStation. Just a thought.
That's also true.
Yeah,
right.
That's just a thought. Right?
But you know what you call that? You call that having a spine, right?
You call that being a consumer.
I'll go over there and play it.
Yeah, being a consumer. Right? It is what it is. That's right.
Instead of saying, why don't you go make this? If you're not happy on the platform you're on, then go buy the one that makes those kind of games that you like.
And by the way, let's stop the poll right now. As you can see on the screen, I have a poll from IGN saying, if Starfield falls short from greatness, do you still have faith in Xbox? 45.7% of 12,000 votes saying, I want Starfield to be great. It's a given, but I also want to see some other big games that we've been promised. So they're not only holding Starfield as the barometer, they want to see other big games as well. And then you have 28% talking about too late, I've lost faith. That's the second biggest. But then again, we're also talking we are in an IGN audience. They tend to be PlayStation leaning, so that also speaks to that as well. Our poll, which I will end, which has now 105 people saying
stop the count.
Should Killer Instinct be multiplat? 30% says yes, 48% says hell no, and 23% saying Everborn is drunk. Okay.
Doesn't mean I'm wrong though. So let's the difference in these shows is, I think, with one or two like new surprises that we didn't know about, but they need to be important surprises.
Yeah.
Like Compulsion's game or whatever, or showing us Indiana Jones, something like that.
Yeah.
I think what Xbox needs to do now to wow everyone and to have everybody have that excitement is to actually show us those promises, right? So I think it's even though people are saying, oh, we already know about those games, it's not going to be a big thing. If you show us those games that we've heard about and they look like, oh my God, now it shows you that you were waiting for something. It shows you that, and don't creep around the gameplay. We want vertical slices of
hands and
games
controllers
we have not seen.
Playing the game properly. No BS.
You announce them. Give me a vertical slice of Contraband and Perfect Dark and Everwild and Avowed and all those things. You do that, and I think the audience will be on your side, and you only have to add.
I have one last question for you.
Big things that we haven't heard about, and they can be yours. They don't need to be a money hat deal or a third party thing.
Specifically about this show, I have one last question, and I want you to answer it, and I want our audience in the chat to answer it as well. I'll read some of those when we get to them. This show will have a lot of trailers. Some will be CGI, some will be gameplay. Do you think we see gameplay captured on Xbox Series X, gameplay captured on PC for what we see moving forward? Do you think they've learned that lesson, or are we still going to get trailers that look amazing and bombastic, and then we're left to wonder, is this on PC or console? It looks like, it sounded like Phil Spencer got the hint. Will we see it?
I'm of two minds about that. And I get it. So what they can't do is show you something at 60 FPS and then you're not going to get 60 FPS. That's what they cannot do. However, Sony is not going to show you, they're going to show you things running on a PS5 dev kit.
Sure.
And if you look at the Last of Us 2 reveal,
they're also very shady in that. And to your point, let's make that one clear. They say captured on PS5, and they usually are right, captured on PS5. But then again, more often than not, it's the PS5 dev kit, which has more bandwidth than the PS5 itself, has more memory than the PS5 itself. So they're not really showing you
and all those things.
Yeah, so they're not really. But what they are doing is they have established the level playing field, the groundwork, where every PlayStation fan goes, oh, captured on PS5, and they're excited to see what's captured on PS5. Because of the Redfall situation and what happened here, right? I am advocating that Microsoft get into that cadence, since their platform is not just one plastic box. I want them to show you or tell you where they're showing you their source from, since it could be from the cloud. It could be from the console. It could be from the PC, because that's all their platform.
I'm on the road that you show it in the best light. So if you want to show it on a Xbox dev kit that has 4090,
show me a 4090, but say it at the bottom. Captured on Xbox dev kit, captured on PC, captured on console. Because I feel like that would change the equation with this whole Redfall thing, because that's a lesson learned from Redfall. You don't agree?
No. What happened with Redfall is they showed you 60. They told you it was going to be 60 on console, and it wasn't. It's not. Right? So for me,
but how do you know that though? Because remember, it could have been on PC. It could have been on PC. They don't know. You don't know they showed it to you on console.
But it was literally written on the box. It was
True.
written on the box, and they said it on the website.
True.
So that is why they got the smoke for what do you call it? If they showed it to you on PC, and then when you played it on console, it was still 60 FPS, but the visuals were downgraded. You said, but the PC still looked like what you got. Nobody would care, right? So I am of the mind that you don't lie about what frame rate people should expect on console,
where you're getting
but
the
you
source.
do show the game in the best light. And if you're doing a day and date release on PC, show it in the best light you can on the PC where you can get the best graphics.
But just say
because
so.
you're going against someone. No.
So you're not gonna say it.
You're going against someone
who also is shady with their sources.
Exactly. You're
advocating for them to continue to be shady with the sources because they're shady with their sources.
Don't lie about the frame rate. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Other than that, show me it in the best possible way it could look.
I, for one, agree with you that yes, show it to me in the best possible light possible. Like, show it to me in the best possible light. But you, Microsoft or Xbox, are now telling us that your ecosystem stretches across all these pieces of hardware. So wherever you happen to capture the source from, tell me where that source is. Show it to me in the best light possible. Don't get me wrong.
That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That's not for the first time you show the game. Maybe when you do your developer direct, you do that when you're closer to release. But if it's your first time seeing the game, you should see it in the best light. Should they show us pixelated?
But hear me. You didn't hear what I just said.
High latency.
You're arguing
streaming?
the wrong point, Everborn. I didn't say don't show me to me in the best light possible. I'm agreeing with you.
No. You're saying
show it to me in the best light possible. But then tell me where that source was.
I'm saying that doesn't matter.
So you're telling me.
You're playing
so what you're saying
irrelevant.
to me is not only show it to me in the best light possible, but then hide where it came from.
No, you're not hiding it.
Because that's what you're doing. You're hiding it. That's what happened with Redfall. You're hiding it. Yes, Redfall has other context.
Redfall
has other context.
Redfall, so we can't use that as an example.
Sure, fine, but let's be clear. Let's be clear. So you're telling me they show you Forza, right? Ray tracing, on track, amazing. And please, chat, please weigh in on what we're saying here, right? Amazing clarity, graphics, awesome, blow your wig back quality. You're saying that you'd be happy to see that and not see that it says shown from a PC, even if they did record it from a PC.
I genuinely do not.
You would not care. You'd be cool with it.
By your logic, right? We all believe that the Series S is the main, is the highest seller of the two. So maybe when they first air a game, they should show it to you on the Series S and just say captured on Series S.
Honestly, Everborn, I want them to make a game that they are confident that the Series S, being the floor, is so attractive that they can show you that and you'd be blown away. That's what I want. I don't want them to show me Series S footage because it's Series S footage. I want them to show me Series S footage because that's a floor and that's freaking amazing to blow your wig back.
The first time you show a game how important that is,
of
and
course,
how that can set the narrative for the entire game.
Of course.
Why would you show it on anything less than the best?
To me, that would exude confidence. If you show me Forza footage, and by the way, at the end this was on Series S, that would be like, yo, after everything we've seen here, all this amazing stuff, you're telling me that Series S, that would change the narrative on their power stuff.
You're making this argument based on wanting to prove a point that the Series S can punch above its weight. I'm making an argument for the content itself and saying you are promoting a platform agnostic ecosystem. So wherever you want to play it, at whatever scale you want to play it.
The only time we will argue, I will pause this conversation and insert this is because the king has spoken and he says it needs to be shown on Series X. Salute to you, King David. And he's also saying no PCBS. Thank you for being here, good sir.
All I'm saying, King, is when you first reveal the game,
show it the best light possible.
The fight is fixed already. The
I get that.
the competition is not showing you what it's gonna look like when you get it on your PlayStation. You show it in the best
But
light.
remember
the
that
first
they're
time
not
you
trying to
introduce it.
be the green team of what that do what the blue team
Don't
does.
matter. Don't matter. This is you do what is good
For you.
for the game
Okay.
itself.
Okay.
Right? The
All right.
game is more important, and show it in the best light the first time they see it.
All
And
right,
of
well,
course, shout out to King David.
Shout out to the man.
Hold the line.
Indeed.
Gave a lot of people a spine.
And if and when all of this goes where we are going to go, I will say it now because King David is watching and listening. The community must create the next moniker for him. He has created monikers for Phil Spencer. He himself has gotten some monikers himself. But if the Hold the Line works, man, we need to give him a new moniker because he will have earned it at that point. I don't know. I don't know. I'm waiting for ideas because
you want to talk about the king of content quotables. This is the man that brought us Tell the Truth, Shame the Devil.
Shame the devil. Indeed.
Phil
But okay.
Dominus Maximus Aurelius.
See, and this is why I'm saying if and when this thing goes where we think it'll go, he will have ascended to a level where he deserves a moniker placed upon him rather than him placing those monikers upon Phil. But we'll talk about that one later as the train moves closer and closer to where we think this is all going to go. But on that topic, and before we go, I want to talk. We have two more real interesting topics we want to talk about before we end the show. But before we do, I want to have the last word because I did see this a little bit when we were talking about what people are potentially excited to see, and I see Live Supremacy just brought it back up again. The Wu-Tang game from Xbox. We had heard about that 2-3 years ago. It's a smaller project. It's being made with the Wu-Tang Clan, as it were, right? I want to see it. I want to see potentially, some what it looks like. It looks like it's a smaller project, but I'm excited to see because when this thing first was talked about, it was a big deal. I want to see some action there. I want to see it, maybe a trailer, if you will. Show me something. But I'm excited to see where that goes.
I would love a game like that to be made by the Sifu people.
Yeah, now that we see how Sifu plays, imagine them making that. Holy crud, man. Sifu's also a game that has set the benchmark, man. I hope more people follow that. But okay, let's move forward because I want to talk ABK. But before I want to talk ABK, I want to bring up what you brought to my attention and that we started talking about. We basically had a whole podcast, just the two of us, discussing this. And that's basically the title of this show. Hear me out, Steambox. Okay? Now,
I
people...
came up with that name.
Yes, he did. People are going to be like, oh, come on now. Steam has tried Steam machines. You're looking at some Steam machine paraphernalia right now, right? They've tried all that. It didn't work well. It got kiboshed. Why are we bringing this up right now? Everborn Saga, I'm listening, but I'm going to quickly step away, and I want you to regale our audience really quickly with why you thought that bringing this to my attention and wanting to have this conversation is fruitful. And real quick, like I'm listening, but I want you to start us off. I'll be right back. Go for it.
Okay. So, we know that Valve has been doing work on its own hardware for some time now, right? We know they're doing VR. We knew they had the controllers, and we knew they had like a licensing program for Steam machines. But they were not making that hardware themselves for the Steam machine. I know they had a reference design, but it wasn't really what we see today. And I think that what they have been able to do with the Steam Deck and the Steam OS experience, it is because you never have to. Yes, it's Linux based, but them, having that Proton layer that allows you to play anything in your Steam library. Now, some things will run better than others, and I know things like Destiny won't work or COD won't work, but I'm sure they will find ways around that. But for all intensive purposes, if you own a Steam Deck, you know Steam OS, you never have to leave it, and it gives you the console experience. Now, the console market is super difficult to get into because it is so hard to get people to develop for your new box that you want to try to introduce. And we saw Stadia fail because they had a whole new system that people had to port games to. Valve is uniquely positioned with the Steam Deck and the program and how that works and how they update it and the Proton layer to create a non-portable Steam Deck that has high-end specs that would be on par with your PS5 or your Xbox. And unlike anyone else who would try to enter the game at this late stage, a Steam box is what I deem it, would be, it would have all content. They would not suffer what everyone else would suffer, which is how do you get content to your new ecosystem that you're trying to build. The ecosystem is already there. And what this would allow them to do is it would be a Trojan horse to bring people over into PC gaming, the console space. And do not ignore the console space, because the PC space might be bigger overall, but you are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars, right? You're talking about mainstream. And I think Steam OS is far enough along at this stage with all the updates that they've done that they could put one under your TV on your OLED, and you would have access to every game that is on Steam. And for those people who say, wow, this is amazing, they would also say, wow, my same library is right here on PC, and all that work is done already. It's done, and it's right there, and it's in your hand on the Steam Deck. And they already have cloud saves in place. So just imagine under your TV is a Steam box. You're playing your same PC game. You just take your Steam Deck on the go with you. All local. You're not worried about any cloud business and latency. And then you get in front of your big rig 4090 PC, same game, upgraded visuals. All the pieces are in place for them to enter this market with a closed box. And because it's Steam, maybe it's even upgradable. You update the memory, whatever else. I think tapping into that console market is the next level for Valve and Steam, and the store is already in place. I think they would be a major competitor if they did that. And they would have a larger library than both Xbox and PlayStation combined, because there's a lot of weird random games that come to PC that never make it to console.
So what do you say? What do you say to those who say they've done that already and it didn't work because that was the Steam machine?
I talked about that. They had a reference design, but that was a licensed box. The Steam Deck has changed that conversation. The OS was not far enough along to where the Steam Deck is now. The whole Deck Verified program, all those things. Now, it makes it simple for you. It makes it simple enough to where a casual that doesn't want to be bothered with any of that stuff, they're not worried about driver updates and all those other things. Right? You had to work. You didn't know what was what when you were buying a Steam box, Steam machine, something made by Valve in the vein of the Steam Deck. I think it's an entirely different conversation. I think you have the trust to say this is a corporation I know, whereas I trust Valve, but I don't trust Alienware. Or what are the specs in this thing versus that thing? And that was the other thing where right now, today, people are optimizing their games to work on the Steam Deck.
Yep.
Developers are doing this because they know the hardware they're hitting, right? And
whereas during Steam machines, there were so many different reference designs, much like the PC ecosystem itself. You did not have one point of target to hit. Alienware was making this kind, whereas Asus was making a different kind, and then there was no one reference design. So I do see your point in that they could reach out to, let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say they reach out to Intel, because Intel's now trying to get into the game, right? AMD and Nvidia are already the experienced the combatants in this realm, right? So they could potentially go in there and then ask Intel to jump in with their new hardware that would push actual, like, real hardware, which Intel has not done so far. They're so far on the low end of it, and then put that in the Steam box.
Here's the beauty of this, the idea of this Steam box, and
sure.
And I've thought about this. Slow-Mo says that if you're going to get into the console space, he says the Steam Deck works because it's your own library, and you can take it with you on the go.
Yep.
I'm saying a Steam box in your living room to compete with consoles.
He's talking about something under
anyone
your TV.
Else.
Yeah.
Right.
And
unlike anyone else try to enter this market, guess what? You get everybody's games.
Yeah.
You get the Xbox exclusive
it.
games. You get the PlayStation exclusive games. And while all of those people are arguing, you have your console experience while being agnostic of the BS.
Ham Solo,
because ultimately,
Ham Solo's in
PC.
here saying no first party games for Steam. I don't want. Technically, they have everybody's first party games, right? With the exception of a few here and there, and even if you're ready to go manual with it, they even have Nintendo's first party games. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They even have Nintendo's first party
games through emulation. See, and
they kind of have everybody's first party games.
This is the craziest part about it. Jim Ryan can say whatever he wants. Jim Dance Moves or Jamaican Jim. or AKA the Snitch. That's actually who the Twitter account is. That's how he knows all the PlayStation information. Because the Snitch is Jim Ryan's alt account. Anyway,
TSWS
Sony
Gaming
is going to go.
Steam has no games.
Steam,
I would love that narrative.
PlayStation is going
Steam
to
got
do
no games.
more and more PC games, and they're going to get closer and closer to a day and date model. I don't care what they tell you today.
Yeah,
they're not going to leave that money off.
Yep.
So again, if we think about this.
Oh, and by the way, salute to the man Paris Lilly in the chat. Yes. He's saying, why would PlayStation care if the games on the Steam box when they aren't putting them on PC day and date? But that's today. We're talking about tomorrow, right? I mean, more and more PC games are coming. PlayStation games are coming to PC.
What I'm saying is Sony's decision to move to PC will be independent of this idea that I'm talking about.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is Sony doesn't say my games can't go on a Steam Deck, right? Yeah. And so in the same way they don't say that,
maybe they start saying that if the Steam box, as you've coined, ends up being next to your PlayStation 5, maybe they start taking that stance when they see Valve is encroaching in their living room space.
Yeah, but I think by the time they do that, it would be too late, right? Because what then Valve could say, maybe I don't want you on Steam. Try releasing it on PC now.
Well, but by then, wouldn't you think that they would have their own PC store at that point? Because isn't that something that we've been thinking about? That PlayStation looks like they want their own PC store. They're dealing with Valve because that's the only game in town. But by then, they may have their own PC established store. Or they tie themselves to Epic because they have a small stake in Epic.
You can say they'll tie themselves to Epic, but there's a reason people go with Steam because that's where the bodies are, right? Yeah, that would be at your own risk if you were doing something like that.
Okay.
I just think that they've worked out all the kinks, and I use my Steam Deck as a console, and it works as I would expect it, right? It works. It does all the things I want, and I just think they solved these problems that weren't solved before to make it a seamless experience if you stay in that Steam OS.
So you're advocating that they bring out like something like this, like, because remember these are all reference designs that exist.
Very important.
Yeah. Made by Valve. Yes,
but it's very important that it be made by
Valve. Yes,
and it's going to be hardware that developers can target the same way they target the Steam Deck, and it's gonna get all your Xbox exclusives. It's gonna get whatever PlayStation decides to put on PC and Steam, and all the games that are not on console at all.
Ron is sitting in here. Thank you for being here, sir, by the way. He's arguing with you, saying, come on now, Steam Deck isn't a competitor to PS5.
But I'm not talking about a competitor. That's the beauty. I am saying make a box that goes under your TV. You're not competing with them. That's the whole thing. It's just going to be a box that's going to play all your games that you don't think about. Why not? It is such a great experience on this handheld. Why couldn't that same experience carry over to the TV? Somebody give me a good reason why not. And
Come
I
on,
haven't heard
Slow-Mo. Come on, Slow-Mo. Who is getting paid by the Valve executives now? I'm just saying. This man's making a good point here. It's basically like saying you have your docking station plugged into your set-top box, plugged into your LG OLED in your living room, like you have the Xbox right now. And instead of coming to it and playing your console games, you set this thing down, and now you're playing your Steam games in your living room. The difference would be this small handheld device that's mobile in priority, and it's convenient, and as such you have shortcomings here and there as far as graphics and output and a few other things. This would just be a Steam Deck, but it would live in your living room, and as such it wouldn't have any of those issues with battery life and throughput and all of the bandwidth and all of that. You could target a very high-powered SoC, put it in there, almost something that rivals your, what are we talking about? The ROG Ally is now talking about the external enclosure with a 4090, which is, laptop 4090, but still,
but that's
really
the
high
ROG
bandwidth.
Ally is still effectively a PC, and you're going to have to deal with that UI. I am saying the Steam Deck has figured out the UI.
Figured out
such
the
that
UI
it would
problems.
be good enough to work on your TV.
Yep.
And we can, and what Paris says in the chat, a Steam box is no different than connecting a PC to your TV, except that Steam OS has solved the user interface, and that's super important.
And on that, I agree
Lemon
with you.
has a super chat.
Yeah. Let me. Oh, my super chat system just kind of screwed the pooch on me. I will bring that back up and read Lemon's super chat. But I do agree with you that the issue that has been solved, the difference between Steam machines of the past and today, is that issue that has been solved with Steam OS and Proton being as good as it is now. All the stuff that people talk about with anti-cheat software, that is easily resolvable. It is. If Valve cared enough to work with your Denuvos and all the other cheat software, you can circumvent that. Some of them have already been circumvented, actually. So I do hear you on that.
Clear because, let me tell you where the inception of this idea came from. And I see, Dragon says PC gamers like customizations. They don't want a box. This is not for them.
Yeah,
right?
and you know
I'm
what?
Not a PC
you know
gamer,
what? Hold on.
right?
I will even give you an argument on that. Dragon, 108 Dragons TV, that $5 super chat. Thank you. They want a box. They want to customize. There's a world where you can still customize this. Even the Steam Deck has so much customization, and it wasn't built for that. Right? When they released the Steam Deck, they also released the AutoCAD file to have anyone see all the pieces of the puzzle of the Steam Deck itself already. So if you wanted to do something custom with your Steam Deck, you could do that today with Valve's blessing. There's a new mod that just came out that puts a 1200p screen on the Steam Deck. Why? Because Valve opened up all the logistics and showed people that you can make that yourself. Right, so that wouldn't necessarily be the talk against it. I'm sure there'd be a way of customizing this, and it being Valve, you could probably increase your own RAM, you could probably increase your own storage. Chances are, if it's an SoC that's amenable, maybe they'll find a way of letting you upgrade your SoCs from time to time. Who knows, right? There are options there. It's an interesting thought.
The inception of this idea is that, as you know, there's a running gag, but it's also true. I'm not a PC gamer. I don't like to game on PC, even though I used to have a top-end video card, but now 3080 is garbage now.
Now you might as well just throw it in the trash. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now it's an abacus, right?
Now
I don't care. I don't care about PC gaming. I had no Steam library. The Steam Deck got me into it, and now I am buying games on Steam.
Yep.
And so if you can get me on a device like that, who is actively against PC gaming, not against it, like if it's for the people who it's for, it's not for me. Yeah. But I'm actively, personally, for my own taste, I don't PC game, but I'm on the Steam Deck all the time. If you can get me in like that, who spends money on games all the time, to pick up a platform agnostic box like this, and now is spending money in Steam,
you got something,
and bringing me over into the ecosystem. The whole point of making the box is getting people in the ecosystem. You get me, you'll get other people on a box like this.
So let's catch up on a few super chats here. Let's see. Let me try and get this name right. Is it Fantu Archer? I hope I said that correctly. He leaves a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, and they said, add full VR support to Steambox, including VR desktop for Quest, VR support, and that would put it in Sony's crosshairs. Interesting idea. Yes. Because then it would be the box at home, and it would also basically be serving the same purposes the PS5 is serving, which would be interesting. Mr. John Wolf in here with a $2 super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, good morning to the dynamic duo. Steambox equals win. There's one individual who would buy it. There you go. Right? 108 Dragons TV with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Lemon, for being here.
Well,
he says,
hold on. John Wolf is also buying the dock for the
we'll talk about that one.
He might already be in the bag.
He might be in the bag. That's right. He with a $5 super chat. 108 Dragons says, "Let's not." What's he say? Let's not make me and your ability to do things SteamOS is not for regular peeps. Come on. Let's be real. 99% of PC gamers are on Windows. That's true.
So that's true, and the Steam Deck maybe sold 1 million, 2 million. It's not like something that's taken over the world. No. I completely understand that.
Yes.
But
it's an interesting idea, though. It's an interesting concept.
Why I like the Steam Deck, because I when I first got it, I tried to do all that extra stuff. I tried to do emulation. I just did the Tears of the Kingdom emulation. I did the whole install Windows on it. I didn't like any of those experiences, right? Okay. What I use the Steam Deck for right now is the vanilla SteamOS experience. And that's what I was jumping into desktop mode.
That's what I was trying to tell Mr. Boomstick XL.
All of these edits and things to go and add Game Pass to it. Just use the regular SteamOS. The regular SteamOS. It is simple,
you'll be surprised
enough, and they're not asking you to do a lot of the stuff.
You will be surprised how console-like that experience is for a PC game, right? A lot of people are like, oh, ROG Ally, we can finally jump in because it's Windows. You will be surprised at how console-like the Helio OS is, which is the Steam Deck OS. Like, you'll be surprised at how much time and effort they've spent to make that experience right out of the box, console-like, to the point where you will be disappointed with the ROG Ally and their attempt to make it console-like in comparison to the Steam Deck. So because of that, Everborn, I do agree with you. Go ahead.
And furthermore, you're saying, why would Valve do this? Don't you know that us console gamers are clowns that will pay extra money for games? You didn't know that? Well, you PC guys will just get $60 games because they just know you guys are not going to have it, although they're raising it up to $70 now. But console gamers,
let's be real. That $60 is also ridiculous. That $60 is ridiculous because chances are we're paying $20.
But my point is, we are the console gamer. We're cash cows.
Yes,
right.
Yes. You guys pay for the convenience.
Argue for you to charge us more.
That's right.
That's what console people do.
Pay pigs, he says. Oh,
and you think that Valve don't want some of that money?
Of course.
In something that integrates into their normal ecosystem and still works across all this stuff, and the work's already done. All this is a non-portable. There's only a non-portable Steam Deck. That's all it is. Exactly. They don't have to change anything else.
Boxenberger in here with a €5 super chat. Thank you for being here, Boxenberger. He says, I agree with Everborn. Such a box would be a great option. It wouldn't replace a classic PC gaming, but it would be a convenient option to play on TV. Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you. By and large, it would be basically Steam Deck, but without all the Steam Deck all the places where they had no choice but to give you concessions because battery life, because it needs to be approachable in pricing, it's a handheld. All of a sudden, you remove the handheld component from it, it can perform much faster. You remove the fact that it's a handheld from it, it can be a bit more expensive, true, but for the price of a PS5 or the Series X, you could probably get an even more powerful Steam box. Because obviously they can revise it.
Especially one that didn't have to worry about power and you could use bigger parts and you don't need the screen and all those things.
Exactly. So it is an interesting idea. There will always be PC tinkerers like myself. There will always be people who, like I always say, there will always be people who say, damn it, I am not watching The Matrix unless you pull out the Blu-ray, put it in the Blu-ray drive, and show it to me. But there are others who are okay with the convenience of it. Go ahead, everyone.
You know what is wild to me, like right now? Mm-hmm. Everybody who's against this idea, right? Lemon, Slow-Mo, and whoever thinks they won't do it, you would be there day one. Because just like me, you are day one guys. You would buy it, and you're saying they won't make it. And you know that there's a group of people that they could bring in.
And Splendiferous in here with a $2 super chat saying, I can emulate all consoles without being on my PC. Now, my question to that, sir, and I appreciate the super chat, explain, how can you emulate all your consoles without being on your PC? Because I would assume you'd need your PC to emulate all those consoles, but that's neither here nor there. But okay. So, and by the way, we'll move on. And
wait a minute.
I want to talk.
Hold on. Last thing. Hold on. Slow-Mo. I'm going to give you a chance here.
Because he
Do
said
not
lies.
set yourself up to fail the way Kay Asante did.
Oh, stop it.
He says
Don't
he
be like that.
canceled his pre-order. He says he canceled his pre-order.
Who canceled his pre-order?
Slow-Mo for the ROG Ally.
Okay.
Slow-Mo, you're going to go get one.
Oh,
I'm telling you right now, you're gonna get.
Don't argue with Slow-Mo in the chat.
I don't care if you canceled it.
Let me give you one talking point before we move forward, and we'll talk this ABK stuff real quick. Oh, and before I even do that, I see. Yes, I see One Away Dragons once again with a $2 super chat saying, if my PC wasn't on my 8K LG, maybe I'd be there now. Yeah. Not everybody got it like you there, sir. Not everybody got it pulling out the 8K card. I'm just saying. And by the way, for those who are sitting there saying, hey, this is an interesting idea, you can do this today. If you're a tinkerer like me, or not even, you don't even have to have that much information. You can literally build a PC, small form factor, that's about the size of a Series X. You can literally do that today, an ITX board or whatever, build a PC with the same bandwidth, same throughput, same power that the PS5 and the Xbox can give you, maybe even a bit more, depending on the components you choose, and just install SteamOS from day one. Plug it under your TV, and you have this scenario we're talking about today. You can do that right now. Right? And Valve will be none but happier for you to do that because you're in their ecosystem and all of that. It is very much a thing that can happen. It's just we're thinking about potentially letting this be something that Valve would then push to the masses and make it an official product rather than, oh, you just do it yourself. I'm not sure I'm not sure they would hit the market with a big enough splash as they have done with Steam Deck right now, because they've carved themselves a niche in this ecosystem, right? Obviously, your Aya Neos and all those others have been there, but they have not been able to get to the front of the class, right? Obviously, someone like Valve is smart enough and has enough clout and his experience to get in front of the class with something like this. This would be an interesting option. I don't know if this would be like, oh, now all of a sudden out of nowhere, you have PlayStation, you have Xbox, you have Nintendo, and you have Valve in your living room. It may not get there, but it's an interesting option. It's an
But
interesting option. I don't
think
deny
they're
that.
the only ones that could do something
Sure,
like that
sure.
because of the
I don't
ecosystem
disagree.
that they come
I
with.
don't disagree. They are uniquely positioned to be there, and consumers would potentially want that offering they're giving them, because as you're describing right now, while many people are going back and forth with, oh well, we'll put it on console on PC at this time or whatever, at the end of the day, the game in town right now is PC if you want to play everything. Well, mostly everything, right? And more, it's seeming to head down that direction.
I just think that's the selling point. Like if I'm Steam in that commercial, not that they had commercials for the Steam Deck, but in that commercial, I'm putting Horizon and God of War right next to Halo Infinite and say, under your TV, play it all.
Yeah. And wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be an interesting Valve commercial? You'd put Halo next to God of War, next to some other offering, and saying all under your TV. This competitor and that competitor and all of them, but
Right.
here
And
under
again,
our platform,
this
it's
is
all
not-
under your TV.
People are thinking like, oh, this means a replacement of. This is just another addition, another way to access your content. It's no different than accessing on the go. You're just going to your living room.
Yep.
Right?
Now there is one side of this equation that I kind of want to talk about before we move forward, though. If Valve did this, do you not foresee their partners, which would more to the point is like somebody like Xbox, all these other third parties, not as much PlayStation, but they've worked with PlayStation in the past. If you found that Valve was now building a system for under your living room, under your TV, like your Xbox, like your PlayStation, do you think that changes the relationship between Valve and all these other incumbent players in this space? They've been okay living with Valve all this time because Valve is just the PC owner. If they find themselves in the living room and then now they're competing against your box, does Sony all of a sudden start don't put it on Valve in their riders as far as their contract? Like they do to Xbox right now on Game Pass and this and that.
No, because no one would sign that. You know why? What do you have, 300 million people on that platform? You're going to ignore that?
True.
PlayStation couldn't even write that in their own first-party contracts.
Yeah. You know what, Everborn? I will tell you, this conversation has brought up some very interesting thing for me. I might think about doing that. I have a bunch of components in my house, like PC parts from all over the place. I might think about building an ITX box for the living room and installing SteamOS on it and seeing how that works. Like, have a console in your living room that's made by Steam.
You know what? Hold on a minute. I just thought about this. We're going to do that together. I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah? Let's do it. Let's build it.
And we're going to report back on it. And I'm going to tell you, and we're going to do videos, and I'm going to just take the phone and show you the TV and show you what it's like and tell me if I'm wrong.
Let's do it. Because it's not difficult to do.
Project. We're going to do this in June. That's it.
Okay.
Ken Sante and I are going to build these. I'm probably going to buy like a small box.
Sure. I'm going to build an ITX case, build an ITX thing. Yeah. Put SteamOS on it.
And I'm going to let Ken Sante go through all the trouble, and then I'm going to call him, and he's going to walk me through the process. Because ain't nobody got time for that. But I am going to put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah, let's do it.
And we are going to do this. And this is going to be some content we're going to make from the channel.
Why
and
not?
Then all of you, I want all your needs. I want Slow-Mo's
let's do this.
Who else
Let's
was
do
against
this.
this? I need Lemon's knees. Who else? Who else in the chat? Pragmatic Eagle, your knees too. Knees. I want them all.
No, truthfully, I honestly think it's an interesting thing to do. Maybe you build it and realize that it's not.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Not your
Lemon says he has that now.
Not Lemon. There you go.
Lemon said we.
Yeah. Let's think about it. Let's build it. Maybe I'll do a tutorial or something. We'll look into it. But okay, interesting thought experiment. I appreciate where you're coming from, sir. But let us get to our story, the big story at hand. The one that we want to talk about, because we know Everborn Saga loves to drink deep of these ABK conversations. And yes, there are more and more stories coming out, regaling us with all the twists and turns on here. There have been a lot that has happened this week. Before we get started, I see there's still a whole bunch of people in here. Please hit that like button. please let folks know we're here. Let folks know we're at the big story before we get out of here. Mr. Everborn Saga, I know you know as much as I do as far as all the moving and shaking that has happened. NVIDIA GeForce Now, as of this week, has started getting Xbox games. So if you have Gears and you've always wanted to play it on GeForce Now, which, by the way, don't get it twisted, GeForce Now, from a performance perspective, the best cloud gaming subscription thing you can get from a performance perspective. It beats xCloud, beats everyone. You can even enable the option for 4090s.
Don't tell that to the CMA.
You can even enable options for the 4090, and you will see the full bandwidth come to your screen, even though you're running it from a potato, right? That whole idea of cloud really comes to fruition in GeForce Now, and of course, based on all the you get a cloud deal, GeForce Now was able to get one, and based on that, since the 18th, they are now able to play Xbox games, right? And obviously, this is all within the backdrop of that the Chinese regulatory bodies have also approved the deal, right? There's a lot of moving and shaking as far as what we'll do as far as the CMA is concerned.
The gamer lawsuit.
There's just so much to it.
Denied.
So much to it. Everborn, you
CMA getting Twitter fingers.
Take it from jump. Where do you want to start?
So this has been maybe the most eventful. I won't say the most impactful, but it's definitely the most eventful week in the history of this deal. Right?
Okay.
In a year and a half, we have not had this many things happen in this rapid succession since they announced this deal.
Yeah.
Right? And so it started last Friday when a report came out from Reuters, and then the Bloomberg's terminals. Wow, Mr. Joanna Dark. Why you bring
Thank you, Mr. Joanna Dark. I always need Mr. Joanna Dark to continue keeping the boot on the neck, and he is not disappointing me, sir. Thank you. He's here with a $5 super chat. He's here with a $5 super chat and saying, Everborn, before Everborn collects anyone's knees, sir, we need your knees, as Kratos took them easily.
For the best-selling 3D Sonic game of all time. That's what you
but
need.
That doesn't matter.
To bundle with.
But that doesn't matter, because that's like saying the fastest Honda Civic. It still doesn't win the race. I'm sorry. That's not what we were talking about. But continue down the ABK
but Sonic
road.
Can run faster than Kratos. So again, you lose again. Anyway,
when you got that money, you don't need to run. People come to you. I'm sorry. Continue.
Okay.
Go ahead, man.
All right. So. It started last week, and I tried to tell, because people said, Reuters is reporting that the EU is going to clear the deal on Monday, and people said, this is what we heard. Hang on one second.
What? Listen to this riveting radio while responding to a text message.
So
go ahead.
No. My kid was asking me something. I was trying to tell him, don't bother me while I'm podcasting. No. And thanks, Lemon. That we appreciate that, and we appreciate Slow-Mo's wrong input, and we appreciate Pixel keeping people honest. We don't appreciate Mr. Joanna Dark slander.
Slander. Come on
now. Paris showing up. But anyway, so like I was saying, it started last week, and people said, we heard this right before the CMA blocked it. And what I said to people is, Reuters reporting something, and it's a different situation coming from the Bloomberg terminal that people use to make investments is not the same thing as the New York Post telling you something, right? And after the debacle and the egg on people's faces from the wrong assumptions for the CMA decision, do you believe that a company like Reuters is gonna put their reputation on the line if they weren't sure.
Yeah.
So that's how we started last weekend. So now we come into Monday, and it didn't happen in the morning, so a lot of people didn't realize it was going to happen. And then we get the news. The EU approved it, and they put out an image that kind of showed, like a graphic that showed what it was. And in that graphic, right, it tells you everything. It was like hieroglyphics on a wall to show you the history of how this deal came to play, right? And I want to point out that the EU from day one has been on the right side of this thing, right? You remember back in December when the FTC first sued to block this deal, that day one, right? The EU was out there, and they sued to block the deal, and they said they're basing a decision off of the fact that Microsoft misled EU regulators. The EU came out the next day and was like, no, they didn't.
It said,
we closed it with no restrictions.
Yes.
Right. Don't use us. And then guess what? The EU was also the first one that we heard that dropped the console SLC, which means they were the first to call Sony out on their BS and said, you don't have any risk here. Now, everybody else did it later on, but Brazil got it right first, but the EU got it right of the major regulators first. And then we saw in interviews where Vestager, the head of the European Commission, she said we need to decide things based on the facts on the ground, and we will not allow regulatory capture. That right there was a dig at the FTC and the CMA, because the CMA was captured by what the FTC wanted to do, and the FTC was not going by precedent. They were not going about the facts on the ground. They were going by an objective that they had to send a message to big tech and consolidation and trying to slow that down or cool that action. But it's not based on the facts. And that's not me saying that. That's the FTC's heads predecessors that are saying that. These are financial analysts that are saying that. These are now 38 countries that are saying that. So don't listen to me, some layman fan. Listen to the experts saying that that's not being decided on the merits, right? And so she was out front in front of that, Vestager. And then we see what happened with the CMA. And now the EU comes out and talks about how, again, we do not see cloud as its own market.
Yeah, it's only a delivery method, basically.
Right? They also said, we looked at the same information, and we can see, like we all know, Activision had no intention of joining the cloud. And we can't just make that decision. From the documents we got, they weren't going to join the cloud. So that is an RBC, a relevant consumer benefit.
Don't you just hate all the acronyms they put to all these things? I'm just sorry. Continue. Go ahead.
Sure.
Just
well, one thing I do want to say,
I feel like I'm at work.
This,
Too many acronyms. Go ahead.
No. But one thing I do want to say about this, what I think is a net positive, no matter how this goes here, I think the entire gaming community has now, a lot of us are reading these documents and we're understanding how these things work. And I do think we all learned a lot by going through this process. And learning new things and understanding how systems work and understanding the politics at play and the process and all that thing. People are involved, and it's because it's for their hobby, but they are involved and they have learned and they're reading legal documents. And I think that is a net positive. I think we all got a little bit
got a little
smarter from this.
Yes.
A lot of people got stupid. Let me
catch up on some super chats. Let me
comprehend.
Super chats.
Yeah, and then I'll continue.
He said a lot of people got dumber. Okay. All right. So Hargeet Chanian here. Thank you, Hargeet, for being here with a $5 super chat. He said, if you want to bet against Kratos, you should have chosen Nintendo/Pokemon. Everborn is running as fast as Sonic from giving those knees. I don't disagree there, Mr. Hargy.
You can't run without knees. You can't run without knees.
Mr. Joy in the Dark with a $2 super chat saying, Sonic sold so good, Sega got the Angry Birds. Which, I mean, that's kind of a good thing, right? They use Sonic money to go get Angry Birds.
Now
It is what it is.
the Angry Birds team, they use Sonic money to make Angry Birds, and the Angry Birds team is going to make Sonic games instead of Angry Birds. And furthermore, you want to talk about who did more? Talk to me about that 1.5 billion people playing Sonic games. So if you think about it like that, Kratos ain't coming nowhere near
with a $10 super chat, and he says, "It's to the point. It's to the point where the world is on the CMA and on the FTC's shoulders. It's not a good look for them at all because they're all supposed to be the freedom fighters based on the countries that they're residing in." Yeah, as Everborn likes to say, unfortunately, we're all learning that the Emperor has no clothes, right? It's an unfortunate place. It's a disappointing place we find ourselves, but our heroes are technically not heroes at all, right? 108 Dragons TV with another $2 super chat saying, "There's no Twitter bots on this day." Really? You think so? You think so? There are no Twitter bots? Final super chat. $2 super chat from Mr. Joanna Dark saying, "Everborn, we like your knees shaved and lotioned."
I'm going to say pause on that. But
I was leaving room for the pause. Go ahead.
If you ever do get these knees, and I'm not promising that you will, I will make sure that they're hairy and ashy. Out of spite.
I knew he was
petty
going
like
there.
that.
I knew he was going there. Okay. Okay. Get back to the topic at hand.
So let me continue. So they also said that the deal is pro-competitive with what Microsoft offered them, which is, and we should talk about that. It is a license for all Activision games to be used in bring your own game services and subscriptions that already had the games in it. So if a subscription service had an Activision game and that service also has a cloud component, it should be able to be streamed in the cloud with no problem for Microsoft. And the license
so that means PlayStation
in this
too, right?
resides.
Because PlayStation had the game, and now it would be
if
on
there
their
was
service.
a COD game in PlayStation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's no requirement to put the game in there. It is if it was already there, and they made sure to outline that.
Yeah.
So while the CMA sees all of this, and they have what can only be explained as a Twitter meltdown or a tweet storm. Let's call it a tweet storm. I want to be as magnanimous as I can. It was a meltdown, but we're going to be nice.
Go ahead.
5 tweets talking about how, well, we weren't by ourselves, because now they have to justify what they did, because, when you think of that scene, you didn't effed up, right? You see that right there?
Yeah.
You didn't effed up. So they had to come out and try to justify the decision that shocked everyone. So they talked about how Activision would have put their games in the cloud, even though there's no evidence of that in public or private from the people who could make that decision. So what the CMA used to say Activision was definitely going to put their games in the cloud is some low-level worker, an offhand comment. But if you look at their corporate structure, the people there's a C-suite of people that can make that decision with Bobby K at the top.
And they
every
were not
one of those
taken into
executives who has the power to make that decision, everyone. And by the way, it's not like the CMA didn't know this, because this was in Activision's response. Everyone that has the power to make such a decision, a key strategic decision like that, everyone has been on record in public and private being against it. Yep. The EU sees that And they said that these games would not be in the cloud. And so as far as they are concerned, this is a pro-competitive deal, because if you own a game and you doesn't matter where you bought it, you can go use that cloud service, bring your own game cloud service, and play that game. And people are saying, the CMA tried to pitch it, and people without comprehension skills tried to run with the idea that Microsoft gets to keep 100% of the revenue. How do you think bring your own game works? How did you get that game?
You bought it from them.
There is no store in GeForce Now. You're signing in and you're buying the games through Steam, and that's your library. So whatever stores were in place, that's what you get to keep. But now, before, whereas Activision actively blocked their games from being in the cloud, specifically for GeForce Now.
Now you get to just continue using it because you owned it before. You can continue.
So again, basically, in the 2.5-minute interview that Vestager did on the approval and why they did it, and they even asked her, is the EU lighter on competition? And she says no. Yeah. Microsoft offered something that was pro-competitive, so we went for it. And if it wasn't, we wouldn't. Absolutely. We're not being nicer. Yeah. We are following the rules that we have. Yeah. So the thing about what is wild, now we come back to the CMA, who did their whole tweet storm. That was just Monday. Yep. Right? You had the decision, you had the CMA crying about it, you had the Vestager interview that refuted literally everything in those 5
Every piece
tweets.
of the puzzle, yep.
Bar for bar. So now, Tuesday comes around, and now you have the CMA who has to go in front of their own, it was a hearing of the business section of with these parliament members. And they got grilled. There was an hour and 10 minutes, but there was a 10-minute out of that hour that I shared, and it might have been my most popular tweet maybe ever. I think it got over 200,000 views. I shared the video of it where they asked them specifically about whether they've had contact with the FTC, whether they were doing the FTC's bidding because they're taking a future look, whereas the FTC actually has to use proof. They were asked whether they made the right decision. They were asked whether they care about the economic and global ramifications of their deal, right? And whether what they chose was proportional. And these things, none of them really got a good answer. But the thing that I want to point out is you cannot look at this decision without in a vacuum. So let me add some context to this, why this is important, why all this matters, right? Okay. For the UK. So, by the way, then Wednesday, you had Jeremy Hunt, who is 4 levels down. So you might say that's just a regular parliament member. That's like, that's just like a wacky House Representatives. Might as well be like a Marjorie Taylor Greene or something, right?
Don't go that far. Come on now, continue.
Right? Now, when we come to Wednesday, we have Jeremy Hunt coming out and saying, I don't want to overstep the CMA's independence, but they need to be mindful of the global impacts of what they're doing. And the reason companies like Microsoft come to invest here is because they feel like it's a good place to do business. Yeah. And Bobby Kay sowed the seeds, or did the inception of saying the UK is closed for business. And so now that is starting to take hold, and you're hearing people say it. You're hearing British journalists say it. You're hearing Parliament members say it. About it. That question is being asked. Now here's the thing here. Now let's talk about the context of this. The UK post Brexit it has not been going the way it was promised to go. That's the best way I can put it. And anybody that lives in the UK, you can tell me I'm wrong. Whether you're for Brexit or not, I'm sure you can agree that it has not gone the way that it was expected to go, right? And you may or may not know this, but right now, the US and the UK do not have a trade agreement in place. Talks have stalled since September of 2020, and there's no sign of them restarting. And what that means is there are tariffs in place for trade in either direction. So UK's products become more expensive outside of the UK, and American products become more expensive into the UK, right? But it doesn't stop with the US. There's also a lot of those agreements are not in place with the EU, and they have to work those things out. And this is making it more and more difficult for businesses to work there. And you are seeing a company like ARM, you are seeing a company like ARM say that they're not going to IPO in the London Stock Exchange. They're going to do that in America. And another thing to understand, that the UK was a major economic power in the EU, right? Mm-hmm. Think of it like California or New York in the US. Major economic power.
A big piece of their
and now with them
big piece
gone,
of their economics,
Right. Now with them gone from the EU, they are now competing for business with the UK or with the EU. So the EU and the UK are competing for business. Now, if you live in the UK, and I think in the chat, AJH, who says, Everborn, Jeremy is what you would call a front bench. It's essentially the team picked by Rishi Sunak, right? So, a couple levels down from the vice president, if I understand that correctly. So, direct line to the prime minister. So now you can look at their petrol prices, right? Which would make you cry if you think $4 a gallon is
so
is
much
a lot
worse.
Of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the cost of doing business is spiraling out of control there, right? People are complaining. This is not me. These are, if you pay attention to this stuff, post-Brexit, a lot of things have become more complicated, and there's a lot of things that they have to get in place. So I say all this to say, in the backdrop of now them, instead of being a member of the EU, they are now competitors from the EU in relatively the same continent and region. Mm-hmm. Now you see reasons why, as a political statement, it would make sense for the EU to go in a different direction than the CMA. And now you are seeing their politicians say, and what does it say? If you are going to stop a deal like this that everyone else around the world has passed, looking at the same evidence to protect a market leader, which you say that they throw that out, but a lot of that is still in their final report, and they use that logic to form their SLC in the cloud space, and then you're making up a market that you say will overtake mobile, not only mobile, but PC and console gaming in the next 10 years. They're saying cloud gaming in 10 years will be a $200 million market. You know what that makes you look like? It makes you look irrational.
It makes you look foolish, yeah.
And the EU's approval solidifies that, and that's why they're being so public. And that's why the EU seems as that they've been on board with it, because it makes the CMA's opposition look even more irrational. And when you have all that in the backdrop, and you have politicians and you have citizens that are not happy, this is the crux of all of this. Now we are hearing people say Microsoft could potentially close regardless of what the UK said.
which at the beginning of all this, that was not something you thought you would hear. They needed the UK. They needed the EU.
And you may say that sounds crazy, but let me ask you. Let's say that the UK did approve and the EU, and they worked things out with Lena Khan. They took her out to a cup of coffee and they just ironed it out. and everybody approves, but South Korea says no, or New Zealand says no, and they're the only one that doesn't approve it. Do you think Microsoft doesn't close over that country? Well, you think they don't close over?
That is right
New
now
Zealand?
comparing. That is now comparing the strength of the UK to that of I don't know, South Africa or New Zealand or something. Which that's not the way it is right now.
But hold on a minute. That's not the way it is. But these questions exist.
True.
When you look at how Brexit, forget about how you feel about it as a UK citizen, how Brexit is viewed around the world. When you look, by the way, the auto industry was just talking to the parliament saying you need to do something here because we are going to leave this country with our business, right? Because of all the red tape that it is to even travel back and forth, where they could just do this, they could trade freely, they could travel freely, and there were business ties around that. They can't do that now. So again, that question is there about whether it is a good place to do business. And if on the world stage, right, we say South Korea could block this deal, but they're not stopping me from doing it. You know why? Let me say it the unnice way, their opinion on the matter is irrelevant. Right? We don't look at the EU or the UK or the US like that. But if a company like Microsoft, a global company like Microsoft,
at that big clip has that problem to say,
to do a deal this size that is so publicized, closes this deal, and has that critique with the UK saying no, what does that say? What message does that send? And we're on the global stage now. What message does that send to the whole world about the relevance of the UK around the world and whether they should be taken seriously? This is after Brexit happened.
Yeah.
If you say that Microsoft can ignore the UK, why should Google listen to them? Why should Apple or Amazon work with them?
Yeah.
So this is the high stakes game we're playing, and a lot of it is brinksmanship between the beef between Brexit with the UK and the EU. A lot of it is, how does it look globally? A lot of it is the UK wanting to look like they can stop a deal at this size because it says all roads go through us. We are a major power on our own. But if you add all this together and you look at the other businesses, the other industries that are finding it difficult to do business there, and you're looking at new companies that are not listing their companies or doing their public offerings in the UK, what becomes then of their situation, and how difficult does it become for them to actually attract business there? They promised with Brexit, they promised we will be able to do deals easier because there's less regulation, and we want to get out of the EU because it is there's too much red tape. What does this look like now?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And again, we have AJH in the chat. He would argue a lot of it is pettiness from the EU as well. I 100% agree. They're competitors now. The UK and the EU have bad blood from Brexit, and that's what that tweet storm was about.
You can tell based on the conversations between each other. Yeah. You can definitely tell when they're talking, when they are making references to each other. You can definitely tell that bad blood because you can tell in the way they speak.
This is bigger than Microsoft at this point between them. So again, but I'm just talking about the broader ramification, and this is why the politicians. They're a lose-lose, because if they side with Microsoft and they overturn the CMA's decision, then they're going to look like you could just run roughshod over them, just threaten to leave.
Yeah, and you can't have that.
And you already saw Lulu and Bobby K talking about how the EU is the place we're going to grow.
Yep.
You saw that Satya Nadella. Oh, there's another thing that happened this week. Satya Nadella was like, they asked him if they would close the deal without the UK and not sell the product in the UK. And he said, let's see. And what message did that send? He didn't say anything right there, but we know what he meant.
Yeah, of
And
course.
that is persisting, right? And then it gets better. So to add more salt on the wound and more events and action, Friday was wild, right? We started Friday, right? We started Friday with in the backdrop of all of this, we got word China has approved the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The deal is approved in China, and I didn't want to believe it first because it was from Seeking Alpha, and sometimes you can't really trust everything they say at Seeking Alpha. But then Tom Warren came out with the quote from Microsoft. They make the 37th country.
Wow.
And it's really 38 because South Africa already approved, but it doesn't become official till that date in June.
Technically, it's 39 because Iraq also approved the deal, which is also.
I don't know if that was real. I thought that was a joke.
It's looking more real. Like I'm looking at some.
Did you see anything else? I saw one tweet.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Let's see which one is.
See if
this
you get
one?
official word.
Let me see if we can get official word. Yeah, it's gotten
Hargeets.
31,000 views that one. And yes, I'm gonna do Hargeets
Do
right now.
Hargeets and then I'll continue.
Sure. Thank you so much, Hargeet, for being here. No. I'll do Hargeets right now since you're mentioning it. Hargeet is saying, and with a $10 super chat, thank you, sir. He's saying, my suggestion to the UK is to re-enable the EC handling of M&A for UK, which is the EEA side is good. Parliament needs to re-enable some of these remunerations, work on fixing the CMA to have proper checks, and then look to switch back. Interesting. That's an interesting thought on it. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So this
seems,
is the thing.
It seems that they've fallen into this trap unbeknownst to them. It looked like the FTC was going to be the mustache twirly ridiculous.
Well, when this first started, we thought it was going to be the EU. We thought it was going to go through every place else, and the EU was going to get cute. But it turns out
it's seemingly
because
it looks like they're all on the same page, but they're all threading the needle to get there a different way. So far, the FTC has done it in a very rudimentary, ridiculous way, but the UK is not too far behind them. They're in the same way. They're just using different methods to get there.
So now, in the morning we got the confirmation from China, but it didn't stop there, right? Now we know that the CMA has moved to block the deal, right? But if you go and look at the case, it is not closed yet, right? Yep. We know Microsoft and Activision say they're going to appeal, which I don't think that they've applied to appeal yet, but it is actually the order is not final yet.
Yeah.
And so they released. If you can go to the CMA document page right now, I have it bookmarked.
Of course you do.
And you can actually read the document that they have, and it basically says that we've entered this order and we are going to open for responses from interested parties on the decision. And we reserve let me just read it. But anyway, the point is that people can comment on it until June 19th, right? But at the bottom of that, and remember, we just talked about all the pressure they're getting. Now at the bottom of that, and by the way, the Prime Minister did a post on LinkedIn, no doubt, saying that they need to be open for business, right? But this paragraph says, and I quote, this is what the CMA released, letting people know they could comment on it until the 19th when the order will be finalized. They said the CMA will have regard to any written representations made in accordance with this notice and may make modifications to the proposed order as a result. So that's the line right there. The CMA will make regard to any written representations made in accordance with this notice and may make modifications to the proposed order as a result. The proposed order is to block it, but now they're saying they're giving themselves an opening. So, and then it goes on to say, in the absence of any written representations or in the event the CMA decides on consideration of representations made to not make material amendments to the order, the CMA proposes to make the order pursuant to Section 84 of the Enterprise or whatever it is of the Act, if the CMA considers any representation necessitates any material change to the proposed order, the CMA will give notice of the proposed modifications. And this is part 6. The order may be varied or revoked by the CMA in accordance with Sections 84-3 and Act 162 of the Act. Now, again, this is normally a formality.
Yeah.
And there's never been an instance where they've exercised this. But what they said in that is that they can change their minds as a result of this information. They can not only vary, but revoke their order.
So basically, long story short, if we have new information that supersedes the old information based on the decision we make, we reserve the right to go back and change our minds based on the new information.
In the same way they got the math wrong on the profit motivation, because they were comparing 1 year of losses to 5 years of gains.
Yep.
And they said, we got new information. We saw that we got that calculation wrong, so we're going to remove that. Mm-hmm. This is the opportunity right now to save face, look like you are open for business, but you're still tough, accept the remedy, and Microsoft will give you all the praise and say, we're going to invest in here and do all of this. This is the opportunity. Now, will they do that?
On a controller.
I don't know. But Friday was not done yet. Because that, to me, was the biggest bombshell of Friday. Other than the CMA approval. We're not done yet. So then, on Friday, we saw that the gamer lawsuit
has been thrown out again.
Was thrown out. Well, sorry. There's two pieces to it, right? There is a trial that is on the books. There were two requests in that. One, Microsoft promised they would not close before the 22nd of May, which is next week, and so there was no preliminary injunction granted the first time the judge threw the case out. But this time, but they didn't throw it out with prejudice, which means they can bring it back. They brought the case back this time with a lot more evidence that was provided to them by Sony.
Yeah.
So there were two requests before that trial starts. One was from the plaintiffs who wanted a preliminary injunction. This legally prohibits Microsoft from closing that deal until, remember, the FTC doesn't have this. This legally would prohibit Microsoft from closing the deal until the trial played out for the permanent injunction. That's what a preliminary injunction is. The judge said, get this out of my face. This is dismissed. But the other motion that will be heard next week is Microsoft's motion to dismiss again. And everything Judge Corley has said in terms of not being able to prove harm, in terms of it is not irreparable harm that you have to buy a different video game console to play the same game. Your games will not stop working.
Yep.
And nothing will change in the foreseeable future. The judge could throw it out, or they're going to have to go and just beat it on the merits. But the preliminary injunction was thrown out. And even if the judge doesn't grant Microsoft's motion to dismiss next week, which it seems like she will based on everything she said in this, because it was scathing, which is super interesting when we consider the fact that it's very closer in terms of content to what the FTC was filing, even though they have a lower bar. The Microsoft can close this deal while they go through this case. This deal is no longer a factor in whether Microsoft will close the deal. And by the way, even if the judge found there was some harm, these are individual gamers. Microsoft could give them a couple dollars and they'll shut up, because that's what this really is.
Quiet. Yeah, that's true.
That's what this really is. Microsoft can settle it at any time. So, but the point is, the the case that is similar to the FTC's has been in front of a federal judge, right? And
thrown out.
It was thrown out, and then no preliminary injunction was granted. Now, here's the best part of all this, because when that got thrown out, I said, well, what does this mean for the FTC case? So, and by the way, we should also expect South Korea and New Zealand to come in soon, and we'll see what happens with Australia, because their whole process is on hold. But I imagine they're just waiting for the CMA to do their homework for them.
About the FTC case. If the FTC case, seeing that now the gamers lawsuit, right? There are now the gamers lawsuit, which was thrown out, which then was recobbled together based on Sony's data, right? Is now similar to the FTC's case because that also has Sony's data. If the judge throws out the gamer lawsuit, which has the same content, doesn't that effectively make the Sony's the FTC case also null and void if they throw out the gamers?
It doesn't make it null and void. However, there is an avenue to that, which I was coming to.
Okay.
So, and I just want everybody to be clear. The judge denied the preliminary injunction not based on the merits of the gamer lawsuit's complaints. Okay. They denied the preliminary injunction because in the time it would take this case to play out, there would be no harm to them. Because even if Microsoft closed the deal, your games will not stop working, and Microsoft won't be able to pull the games off of PlayStation.
Sure, so there's no harm. So what's the point?
Right? So she's basically saying, even if I believed you, which I don't, even if I believed you, the time it would take to go through this trial is not enough for you to have any harm. So I'm not blocking this. They can close it if they want. And if I decide otherwise, then then they'll just have to break up or do whatever. But again, I don't think that they're going to win on the merits based on everything else the judge said. So, because again, you have to prove harm to you personally as a consumer, right? How can you prove harm to you individually as a consumer in a deal like this? So now let's come back to the FTC. We have a few questions is what happens next? They have secured China, they've secured the EU, and they've secured 35 or 36 other countries. Now, is there a world where now that they've secured China and now that they've secured the EU and everyone else, do they go to, and maybe they wait for New Zealand and South Korea to come in. I think Canada still has to decide, but I feel like they're waiting for the US. Do they go to the FTC and finally say, here is a list of remedies for your concerns. Do you want to take this?
Oh, and by the way, those are all remedies that have been passed by others.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
And if you don't want to take it, you're going to have to go in front of Judge Campbell, who's thrown out your last several cases.
And trying to make a case
on the
for why it should be taken seriously.
There are 3 areas of that the FTC listed because they were trying to throw anything at the wall, see if it sticks. And by the way, Petran says South Korea is before the end of the month. The end of the month is next week, so yes. Next week is going to be spicy too. So anyway, they're going to have to explain to Judge Campbell why there is an issue in the console space when Sony is the market leader.
Yep. And other regulatory
Nintendo
bodies have already
remember,
away.
This judge is under no obligation and has thrown out several cases because they too narrowly defined the market without proof. Why Nintendo, who is for the deal, every other publisher is for the deal, Sony is far and away the market leader.
Who's against it.
And every country around the world, including the country that blocked the deal, says there is no harm in the console space.
Console SLC. Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to explain that to a judge who threw out their last several cases.
Who's already thrown out the cases. Yeah. It seems like a very uphill battle at this point. Yeah.
So okay, that's the console piece of it. multi-game subscription services. Again, this argument was thrown out entirely around the world, and this is designed to make games, $70 games that Activision makes, cheaper for customers. You're going to argue that to the judge that that's going to hurt people?
Yeah.
Or are you going to argue that multi-game subscription services, there's no competition there, even though PlayStation Plus has more subs? And it doesn't matter that they don't do day and date. They have more subs for a service that gives you games every month. That's a fact.
Yep.
Nintendo Online with their old school stuff, that's also a multi-game subscription service. More subscribers.
Yep.
So again, are you going to argue that to a judge who keeps throwing out your cases based on too narrowly defining markets?
Has an eyeball on all this already, who keeps throwing your cases away? You know, he's not one. They're not one to be fooled, because they've already they've been keeping an eye on this case and keep throwing away cases that don't seem to conform to what they're looking for. It does seem very much like this is a losing battle that they just keep fighting for some reason.
So then there's the third piece of it, which is cloud. And you are going to say that there is a financial incentive. First of all, you have to prove to the judge that it is a market. And in the U.S., you can't do that based on speculation of the future. You have to look at it right now. But let's say the judge goes with you. If the judge believes that that is not a too narrowly defined market and it is not just a distribution method, in the same way we consider going to the store to buy a game from GameStop and downloading a game digitally, we don't consider those separate markets.
No.
Why would cloud be another market and not just a distribution method?
Yeah.
So, and Hargeet points out too, Apple and Google have multi-game subscription services
with a $5
100 million
super chat.
subs.
Yep.
You're going to argue that to a judge who serially throws out your cases?
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Again, now we come to the cloud piece. You have to prove that there's a financial incentive. Are you going to say that even though the license that is free to everyone who buys the games and is now legally binding and regulatory enforced,
now that's still
with
not good
fines
enough
to back, that there is a financial incentive in pulling it from other cloud platforms? Because any money you would gain from doing that, you're going to have to weigh that against the big $1 billion EU fine for a market that isn't that large.
That is literally just a small, tiny market. Yep.
So now, and that's before you get to the fact that they're able to look at all of Sony's contracts since 2020. So now, knowing all of this, does the FTC say, you know what, let's do the photo op? We made Microsoft come to us. We made them sweat. Or do they fight it out with Judge Campbell? Now, there's a third option, which is the nuclear option. And so this deal has a drop dead date of July 18th. If Activision is playing coy about that date, maybe they're trying to increase the breakup fee. Maybe they want to move to $105 a share instead of $95 a share. Once Microsoft secures South Korea, South Africa, New Zealand, and the other outstanding ones, and there's only the UK and the CMA left, and there could be a world where by June 19th, pressure gets put on the CMA to reverse course, so maybe the CMA is on board. In that scenario, you can think about it that way, or maybe it won't happen. But let's say it's either not the CMA left or only the CMA left. Microsoft and Activision doesn't want to extend, because if Activision will extend it for a year or 6 months, I think Microsoft, because they don't want to look any more like the bully than they already do, they will just do that slam dunk case in the administrative process, right? However, there is an avenue where this thing could close before the deadline, right? So the brightest sun says the FTC will fight it. They hope the ABK leaves the deal. Here is the problem. If Microsoft sees that, right now, today, with this preliminary injunction order denied, Microsoft can close this deal.
Yep.
Right?
Because there's no preliminary injunction in place stopping them.
If they close the deal, the FTC is now going to have to either let them close it and then fight it out, the legal battle out after, or the FTC is going to have to move for a preliminary injunction. With, again, a very similar case that a federal judge, because when you get a preliminary injunction, you have to get a federal judge. So the FTC will have to get a preliminary injunction or let Microsoft close the deal. Now, you may say, of course they're going to fight. They're going to get the preliminary injunction. Here is the problem. The reason FTC did not get the preliminary injunction, right? The reason they didn't try this in federal court is because if they try for a preliminary injunction and they lose that to a federal district judge, it automatically stalls or stays the active administrative proceedings. Meaning, the case with Judge Campbell with the ALJ, that now goes away, and it can only continue at the behest of the merging parties. It is not in control of the FTC at that point. And so they can ask, and of course Microsoft would say no, and then they would close the deal. And at that point, the CMA would have to try to bring a whole new action. But there has never been a case where if once you lose the preliminary injunction, it's over. You have no case at that point because a federal judge tried it and said this is not worth blocking the deal.
Interesting. Okay. So all right. So where does this lead?
That's where we are.
Yeah. Tell me
1 week. For a deal that everybody thought was dead.
Tell me where this leads ultimately, because clearly there's still a lot left, right? We're waiting right now. Who are we waiting on? Where does this teeter? Because clearly there's still an edge. Although you can, by all accounts, you can tell that this thing is going where we think it's going. But a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, wake me up when this deal is done." Where is that barometer? Where do you see? Does it have to come after Canada or after some of these other smaller players? What is the final nail in that coffin, you think?
I think we get to June, like late June. And I think they will try to close it depending on the approvals they get. They'll try to close it before their fiscal year ends, which is, I think, June 30th. The deal can close before July 18th, before they have to renegotiate. But again, what they do is all going to depend on whether Activision tries to get cute and get more money out of them. Because I think that they'll get more aggressive if they feel like Activision may back out of the deal or may try to press them for more money. Then they'll call the FTC's bluff and move to close it. But if not, I believe that they will go through the ALJ trial, right? They'll go through the administrative court trial, and they'll beat the FTC.
Which is basically,
and that'll happen by like December.
They have to go through it and go through the court case because now they no longer have the other regulatory bodies on their back. They're just going focused on the FTC.
And they will only do that if the CMA does not change course.
It doesn't change.
If the CMA changes course,
it's over.
On Monday, on Tuesday they will close that deal and force the FTC's hand. But if the CMA does not change course and they have to go through that appeal process, the fastest route is to go through the process, beat them by December, and then close over the CMA. And while you deal with your point there.
Interesting.
So those are the three scenarios. The CMA changes course, so they close right now.
Yep.
The Activision gets cute on the renegotiations, so they force the FTC's hands. They get a W and then close over the CMA.
Yeah.
Or Activision says, we are confident we extend the deal on acceptable terms to Microsoft. Microsoft will run this out another 6 months. 6 months a year.
Here's my question.
They
There's
know they
no
have a strong case and they'll close it.
there's no scenario in which you
Those are the
see
three
that they go
scenarios.
back and go, okay, well, this didn't work. Take your $3 billion fee. We're done. There's no scenario you see where these potential pitfalls lead to them actually not closing the deal.
Well, so here's the thing. That will happen if Activision does not want to negotiate.
Yeah.
And Microsoft loses its Hail Mary, which is force the deal through before the time. Right? Because they can, if they're at risk of losing the deal, they can move to close. There's nothing stopping them after the 22nd.
Yeah, since there's no injunction
the
in
judge.
place. Yeah.
So they can move to close the deal. Now the deal's closed. So they can just fight it and take as long as they take.
Yeah, because the deal's
Right?
closed and they've hit that
Right?
that deadline. Yeah.
And it would force the FTC to get, which maybe they don't want to do, because maybe the FTC lets it close just so they can fight it in their own court. Right? So, but then they would be free of having to worry about renegotiations with Activision. So that's the only way they just walk away and say, we're giving you the $3 billion, because they would do that only after they did their Hail Mary, which is closing over the FTC. If that fails, then they walk away. But it makes no sense. You're right here. Why walk away when you could at least do this Hail Mary thing?
Yeah. No, that is very interesting. So the next week or two is going to be super
Spicy.
like beneficial and very, very like all the time we've been waiting and talking and debating about this.
Sorry.
It's all coming to a head in the next week or two, right?
Yeah, there's a quick question. Why didn't the FTC fight Meta in federal court? Because the FTC didn't get the preliminary injunction, and that kills an administrative case. The federal court supersedes. Right? There's nothing legally binding in the administrative case to say that you can't close a deal. If the federal judge says you can't close it, you can't close it.
You can't close it.
So the preliminary injunction was not granted, and there is the way the FTC's laws work. It is the power goes to the merging parties if the FTC loses that preliminary injunction. That's why they never went for it, and when they do, they're gambling their entire case. So that's why they didn't go after it, because they didn't have a choice. They would have to go and build a new case, and they started talking tough, like, we could go after you again if we want. Shut up! You said the same thing about Amazon and MGM.
He said, "Shut up." And it ultimately didn't even work out for you in those cases as well. So it is what it is. All right.
And I just want to say, I hate this whole thing with like the FTC has become an enemy, because it is their job to stop
To
wild
protect the
stuff
people.
from happening.
Yes, yes.
Like horizontal mergers. Like
It is their job to stop the people,
like,
to stop them from big, huge, monumental companies. Take a Disney buying big, huge other monumental companies that are their competitors.
horizontal merger. Like if
a Fox.
Microsoft was trying to buy Nintendo
Yeah.
or Sony, because they could,
Yeah.
then okay, obviously step in.
Yeah.
Right? But do you know that my house, I pay like over $1,000 a month in utility bills? And then because I'm not on auto pay, right? I never let bills overlap, but whatever. I'm not on auto pay. They were like, because we pay the mortgage in the beginning of the month, the utilities at the end of the month. They generated the bill early. They're like, oh, you're a few days late.
No, that's some BS. I hate
We need a $1,500 deposit from you.
Yeah, screw that.
Even though you have a zero balance, you don't owe us any money, but we want a deposit now, or you got to go on auto pay, and there's nothing I can do unless I want to live in the Stone Ages.
Yep.
FTC is not saying nothing about that, but you're worried about COD
games.
going into a subscription.
Vidya games, ladies and
That's
gentlemen.
what we're doing.
Vidya games. That's right. That's right.
Right?
Indeed.
So it's like this thing where like I'm on your side. You are trying to do the Lord's work. You're trying to stop companies from running roughshod. Microsoft is not running roughshod over no gaming industry because they have COD.
Yeah. COD is not the end-all be-all of the gaming industry. There's a lot more to it than that, clearly. And those who have been fighting the good fight seems to claim that, but clearly, COD isn't the end-all be-all of the gaming industry. That is definitely that should be the takeaway of that folks should be taking away from all of this. That COD is not the deciding factor of who wins the gaming industry. We've known that forever. Now it's time for all these regulatory bodies to basically get up to speed. But okay. I have an old poll that I want to close, and it's got 126 votes on it. And the question was, if and when this Steam box comes out, because remember we talked about the Steam box, would you buy
it was
one?
The FCC that was net neutrality, not the FTC.
What do you mean?
No. They're saying or net neutrality. Those are things that they should be working on, and they let that go.
Yeah, that's
that
the
was
FCC,
when
not
Ajit Pai was
FTC.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a
Anyway,
different regulatory body. Yes, 28% said yes, they'd buy one. 56% said no, they wouldn't buy one, and then 17% said get Grandpa Everborn out of here. So clearly, some people aren't with you on that one. They aren't with you on that one. Although I will tell you, as a PC gamer, you do have my interest.
I don't understand why.
You have my interest.
What? Why are you against it? It doesn't stop you from installing your drivers and breaking your PC and having to load freaking shader cache and all that nonsense. That doesn't stop you.
You have my interest, Everborn.
This is
you piqued my interest
to bring more people into PC gaming.
You know
and
what? We are at 3 hours and 40 minutes. It's time we end our show.
Time to go. I hope Sycamore is in the chat because we ran long today.
We ran long just for you, Sycamore.
All this news.
That's right.
He said he needed at least 45 minutes. I think we gave you an hour and change.
We gave you the whole ABK thing.
You better catch this on the replay at least.
That's right. Hit that like button if you haven't hit the like button. Please consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed. That's what we're here for. We're here to break down all the various pieces of the puzzle that make up the gaming discourse this week. And of course, Everborn, as you do, loves digging deep in the whole ABK conversation and explaining it in a way that folks can understand and folks can comprehend. And of course, we appreciate that. We appreciate that from you, Everborn. Thank you so much for that. But all right, we are at the end of our show. And at this end, I will, of course, ask Mr. Everborn Saga, there's a lot going on, beyond the gaming stuff that we're doing. I know you're still working on your game that you're building. I know that there are books potentially coming out. What should folks be paying attention to? What news happening in addition to everything else that's going on around it?
I am going to try an experiment this weekend. Mm-hmm. I wrote every line of code in the games that you've seen from me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put my code into ChatGPT, explain what I'm trying to do, and see if it does it better. Interesting. Judge myself as a coder.
You're going to let ChatGPT judge you as a coder.
Yes. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, okay, can you optimize this and can you make it better for this kind of game, and see if it turns out better than what I have.
I wish you would do this on cam. I would love to see this.
I should, but I'm ashamed of people seeing all my ill-formatted code.
Terrible code. Understood. No, but this would be great. We would love to see, some output of what happens here. Okay. Oh. And of course, Mr. Hargi Chani, not to be outdone with his final $2 super chat, saying GCP is trying to compete with ILP podcasts for length for time podcast.
Oh, by the way,
we're not. But we unfortunately can't help it because sometimes the ABK stuff is a big deal and takes a lot of explaining. Go ahead, everyone.
Speaking of, and I don't know if you guys heard this, but we want to talk about content consolidation. Did you know that Weapon Wheel Podcast with Broken Games has merged with Kid Smooth channel? So his new videos are going to air there first for the Patreon members.
Wow.
For Weapon Wheel Podcast, and they're joining forces, We're seeing some consolidation.
Pretty
like they're
interesting.
building a network. It's amazing to see black people do that. That's all I'm saying.
Right?
Instead of fighting in spaces, you have content creators getting together and finding like a financial thing that they can do together. I think that's like
I honestly did not know that was a thing. And of course those who know that Kid Smooth tends to be an Xbox centric channel, and of course BG is a PlayStation centric channel, and they're consolidating. That's pretty awesome. Salute to the content creators out there.
Business, I think
putting it out there. That's great. That's pretty powerful.
I think more people need to do this, right? Build a conglomerate. You know what I mean? Everybody has their own fan bases and they have their own points of view and their real personalities, and then you come together. We watch other people do it. You see Last Stand Media doing it.
That's right.
You get those sort of interesting content creators that have different views. You'll get a lot of views putting them together.
That is a very, very cool, interesting idea. I had not heard about that. I am genuinely impressed. That's awesome.
And I told BG I was going to inform the CMA
that he's being inorganic.
Exactly.
That's great, man. That's pretty cool. Like, and kind of funny as well. Yeah.
No. So
bringing it together. That's pretty cool.
He was always on Weapon Wheel, but Kid Smooth has his own channel. What's going to happen now is Kid Smooth is going to air his videos first. On Weapon Wheel channel.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. That is very cool. I find that genuinely great because you don't have to agree with BG, or you don't have to agree with Kid Smooth. But the fact that they can bring their business together and give you content of different opinions. Maybe PlayStation people hear more Xbox stuff and vice versa. I think that's pretty cool. That's an interesting idea. But all right. Before we hit 4 hours on this podcast, which is unacceptable to me, we will end it here. We have had a great conversation today. Of course, Everborn Saga always bringing it as he does. Today we decided, you know what? It's just going to be myself and Everborn Saga. We're not going to do the guests as we do every week, but we will definitely be bringing more guests into the mix. So if anybody,
definitely going to lose my voice after that hour long.
There you go. Yes. If anybody has any, if you're a content creator, you want to come on the show, you want to have a conversation with us, hit me in the DM. We're ready to have a conversation with you. You want to jump on the show? We'll definitely entertain that idea. If you guys are people who want more different content creators on the show, hey, I'd like this voice on or that voice on, somebody who we have not brought on or somebody who maybe we're not aware of, don't be afraid. Let us know. Contact us. Let us know in the chat. Let us know when the video posts live who you think is real cool, who would lend their voice to our show. We would love to have nothing more but to have more conversations with different people in this ecosystem and chat with them and talk about differences, right? It doesn't always have to be one of those situations where you agree with everyone. Myself and Everborn barely agree on most things, but we enjoy having these conversations. So that's what we're about. I see Sycamore 7 in here. He took our advice to heart. He's here with a $20 super chat, dropping heat rocks everywhere. Thank you, sir. We hope you appreciated the ABK block. We took your message to heart, so we appreciate you for being here and for your support. Guys, you're going to start seeing that support that you guys have been giving us start manifesting. We have new intros and outros coming, new overlays coming. We're going to be talking about some emojis and stuff that we're going to be popping in there as well. So it's going to be
by the way, so we have, if you could leave a comment on this video after it's over, we want emoji ideas because I'm going to have my artists from the comics build them. You tell us what emojis you want to see. Yep. And I'll have some drafts up.
And let's get some out of the way right now. No tinfoil hat emojis. That's already on deck. We're definitely getting a tinfoil hat emoji. We're
getting a pause emoji.
Pause emojis. We're doing some things. But put some ideas in the chat. Put some ideas when this comes up. We definitely want to get your ideas incorporated into this as well when it pops up, so that we can all have fun and enjoy it as we do in this community. But Mr. Everborn Saga, is there anything else you want to discuss before we leave, sir?
No, I want to eat lunch. That's what I want to do.
As do I. And I will tell you, last piece of housekeeping. Thank you to everybody who came and checked out the Experimental Zero episode. of the Gamers Playground, which I'm still learning. I'm still like deciding on whether if I like that name or if I want to do a different name. It's episode 0, so all bets are off. You can go into that chat when it's since it is posted. You can give us some creative criticism. Tell us the name sucks. Tell us you want this. Tell us you want that. It's a PC centric show that's geared towards just getting people to enjoy different aspects of the game. Maybe you don't know how the PC side works. Maybe you want us to do some tutorials. You want us to explain some things. That's what that show is geared towards. You're going to see more and more about that coming soon. Myself and Mr. John Wolf have been working in the background to try and get that off the ground. So thanks to everybody who's already checked it out.
It's a PC show. That's why I'm nowhere near it.
Oh, stop it! It's a PCMR 101. Dip your toes in. Ask questions. Safe space for everybody to be able to kind of talk about games. It's not all about PCMR ridiculousness. But of course, as we know, Mr. Everborn Saga is a console troglodyte, so he will not be anywhere near there. We appreciate that, but we're gonna have some fun.
About to have my Steam box.
Then we'll be talking about different things. Maybe that's how you get into the show. Maybe we build the Steam box and you can come on the show and tell us how that works.
We can do it for that.
Why not? Yeah, let's talk about it. But okay, for myself, Mr. Everborn Saga, we have had a great conversation this weekend. We will be back next week. Well, actually, you know what? We actually might not be back next week because unfortunately, we may have some live stuff. Yeah. Go ahead, Everborn.
I wasn't supposed to have a show. I wasn't supposed to be here this weekend, but we had to change our trip. So we have to make a trip it's a quick trip too. Like we're leaving Thursday, coming back Saturday night. Just got to do some real estate stuff in DR, and we will be right back.
Yeah.
So no show next week.
No show next week.
Unless no show next week, but we'll be back the week after that.
Yep, absolutely. And of course,
unless KSante messes something up.
Well, we'll figure something out. While there will be no GCP next week, chances are you will be able to get some more content on this channel because, as I said, we're putting that together. So just so y'all know now, next week, chances are there will be no show, but stick with the channel. There will be more stuff for you. And of course, the GCP will be back the week after with all the conversation, all the slander, all that stuff. But okay, for myself, for Mr. Everborn Saga,
talking about the close of the deal by then. Who knows?
Hopefully, we're talking about the close of the deal by then because I'm getting sick and tired of all the drip.
What if the one more thing for the Xbox show was, by the way, lights go out, and the same way Keanu Reeves came out, you see Bobby K and Lulu walking out.
Okay, that was ridiculous and scandalous. You're not amazing. No, that would be the worst thing ever. On that note,
okay, all right. Just Lulu walks out.
Everborn Saga's getting a little slap happy. We're leaving now. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.
Yeah.